Anyways, चालू करें
करो।
Shuru,
कि
shuru, shuru. Is that how we go?
you that's so bad.
जादू मंतर जादू मंतर जादू मंतर You are going into the future.
You talking to me?
They always be these sheep clothing.
என் பேர் மாணிக்கம் எனக்கு இன்னொரு பேர் இருக்கு
Talking to me?
Queen is dead. Hello. Welcome to our much delayed recording of a film which we all, except for Varun maybe, love. So this is an episode like the Paul Thomas Anderson episode that was supposed to initially release at the time of One Battle After Another's theatrical release. But since all of us dispersed in our own directions, didn't do the recording on time and everything, we've decided to come do this recording more. I don't know how much how much of this is needed given so much has been talked about the film, but we'll try and make sense of it in a way which hopefully provides new information, and talk about maybe the discourse also, and maybe counter it, maybe agree with it, who knows. But anyways, the
Yeah.
discussion
It's
is
delayed. It's delayed largely because we were also all fighting one battle after another.
good. I like the silence here because I will put it in. But no. So whatever Varun was saying was nonsense. Anyways, you have heard his wonderful voice. He is here, which means it's my demise,
Funeral.
funeral, whatever. And joining us is his crime and partner, self-appointed crime and partner,
क्राइम एंड पार्टनर क्या होता है ऐसा?
partner in crime. Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, it's begun. Okay. Uh, partner in crime.
What is
Uh,
this? 30 mark type English. Sholi
Chris.
mein holi.
Chris is here. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I am good. How are you, Dhruv?
I am.
Shouldn't be asking, but how are you?
Yeah, it's
Why
not like we've
shouldn't
been
you be
talking for the
asking?
last half an hour.
Yeah, we have. We've been talking and bitching about the films which we are going to be talking and bitching about in another episode, which we are planning. So we are doing a Hollywood. I think what we did an indie Bollywood, no, indie Indian film catch up we did recently. In a similar way, and we'll be doing it for mostly not indie actually, but Hollywood films
There is a
also.
bunch of indie stuff, mostly backed by Netflix and movie that's coming out.
Yeah, so we are going to talk about them as a collective. One Battle After Another is a special film for some of us, I suppose. And since
And
we
it's a
have
significant film.
and since we also have a reputation of not liking anything with whoever, I suppose, listens to us, it's apt that when we do all collectively like or love a movie, that we should commence and talk about it. I think the last Sanjeet talked to us on the chat group said decision to leave is maybe the last time which when we were all almost
In agreement.
in agreement this much about a film.
Who was the naysayer there?
No, in that one, no one was a naysayer. In
Nobody
this
was a
one, you are a little bit of a naysayer, but
naysayer.
उतना तो हम लोग भी allow कर देते हैं. It's not like we are some, you know.
I mean, I don't have criticisms of the movie if
Sure.
it helps make my
Sure.
case.
Sure. I mean, but the point is that everyone here has affection for it in a way, which, we generally tend to have someone spoiling the party. Either it's me, Varun. Actually, it's either of us three only, I think, most of the time. Unless it's like La La
No.
Land.
Recently, Adityan ruined Sanjeet and my party on Kanta, which you were like, it's not a good film. It's not a good film.
Okay. So he ruined it by liking the film.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So that
He
I
also
mean,
did that with Dear Sire. I was happily bitching about it, and he really liked it.
true. Okay, so Adityan shall come, and we should have like a battle of opinions for some of these films. No, but we did plan something on the pronounce the name again, please.
Dear Sire.
Yes, thank you, Chris. That film by Rahul Sadasivan, who's
Yes.
made Brahma Yogam and
Bhutakalam.
Bhutakalam, both of which I think we've discussed on this. And I've been the spoil sport in not liking them, but I know a lot of people do like his films. So we will have those people who like this new film and Chris on that probably to counter that. Anyways, all that is of what is to come. But today we are going to be talking about Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another.
Rise and shine.
Bat an eyelash.
Good morning.
There are no hands on the clock
Why?
because they're not needed.
What time is it?
Fuck. You know, I don't remember that part. All right, let's just not nitpick over the passwords.
His biggest commercial failure
And his biggest commercial
and
success.
and his biggest commercial success both. So he is still box office challenged, which probably is a sad thing to say, but I think more we if you listen to a Paul Thomas Anderson episode, we not that it requires a genius to predict this, but we very much said that this is the fate that it will that this film will come to, because of the budget is the biggest thing, and the draw is only Leonardo DiCaprio, and how much can he the pull people into the halls. But anyways, it's not a disaster in the same way as Mr. Edgar Wright writes the new film The Running Man might be, which is also another film which will be mentioned in this episode and in the next ones, because we all have lots of hurt that needs to be expressed, but and disappointment. But primarily this episode is gush fest, and I guess also a fairly extensive discussion about maybe the discourse around one battle after another. Because I mean, it's the whole thing that there's been so much written about the film, and some great stuff written by people all over the place. So Letterboxd even, but like even in like individual outlets, whoever has loved it. Even I think I read a couple of pieces who didn't particularly buy into the film, and even those are great. So a lot of pieces that have come out of the film are great. I think we can link them in the description. But because we are engaging with it so late in its release cycle, and its sort of theatrical release is gone now almost everywhere. Now it's just mainly online release. That I think it will be a little unfair if we don't talk about the discourse, which Chris knows the most about, so he will be filling us in on that. He loves doing this. I tried to, but I didn't have the uh, energy. Anyways, One Battle After Another is, as I said already, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. It's written by him and it's adapted very, very, very loosely from Thomas Pynchon's Wineland. The other film in question is, which I will bring up later, is Inherent Vice, which is the previous film Paul Thomas Anderson has made that was directly adapted from Pynchon's novel. That one is much more faithful to the novel. This is a very loose adaptation. The DOP officially listed is Michael Bauman, and I think, is it officially him, or is it the whole that
Yeah.
PT is also sharing the
No,
shooting duties with him?
there's no
There's no.
sharing
Okay.
of credit.
Credit. Okay.
Bauman's done a proper breakdown of the film's
Yeah.
visual approach
Yeah.
for the American Society of Cinematographers
Sure.
on their
This is the
website.
first time he's officially been credited.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
he was credited as lighting cameraman on Phantom Thread. I
Ah.
think he had
And
the
I don't
same
think Licorice Pizza might
Licorice
have the
Pizza,
same.
no.
Might have the same
Might
thing
have the
then.
same credit, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Um,
Because the whole
and
thing
now
with
he's
Licorice
officially
Pizza was that, not Licorice Pizza, with Phantom Thread was that was the first time he was shooting without a regular established
Yeah.
cinematographer. So,
I mean, he fell out with Robert Elswit
yeah.
during the making of Inherent Vice, and
Okay.
the guild does not permit the director to.
There is no cinematographer credit in Phantom Thread, I think.
No, I mean, this is a problem Stanley Kubrick had. He wanted to
Sure.
shoot and direct Killing way
Okay.
back in the 50s, and
Yeah.
the
I mean, he was a
Cinematographers
photographer
Guild
also. Yeah.
told him that
Yeah.
you can't do this.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, DOP Michael Bauman, editor Andy Jorgensen, I think, if I'm not, or is it your German pronunciation is better? You can go ahead. If it is German indeed.
I mean, in America, nobody is really American except
तो
the Native
तो
Americans.
तो बोलो ना, नाम बोलो फिर, मुझे करेक्ट
Uh,
करो आप, वो तो ही इज
Andy
अ ग्रामरली
Andy
एक्सपर्ट।
Jorgensen.
ये
Andy
सही बोला था
Jorgensen.
मैंने, ये नहीं बोल
हाँ.
सकते थे कि सही बोला था। गुड।
नहीं नहीं सही बोला. You said Jorg, so I thought it might be an umlaut or something. That's why I
Okay.
checked.
Anyways, thank you, Varun, for
Yeah,
your
you got it
grammarly
right.
instincts. Anyways, music is by by Mr. Johnny Greenwood, who we will be mentioning as much as is probably more correct to not mention him, but it is such an
More politically correct to,
politically, but
but it
we
would
will be
also be
mentioning.
politically incorrect to not mention him.
Yeah, also his work in this film is very integral to a lot of the film,
Yeah.
so we have to talk about it. This does not, okay, so I'll have to put this as a disclaimer. This does not mean we support Mr. Johnny Greenwood in whatever his political views are and whatever he has expressed, but we are going to be talking about the work he has done in this film, which I think we all are in agreement is quite splendid.
Yeah.
Though if there are other questions regarding that, we'll address it. Anyways, the cast includes, I mean, it's helmed in theory by Leonardo DiCaprio, but in theory is the big thing here because it's a
Yeah.
film about a lot of people, other actors who sort of are actually more take the center stage almost always away from him. And I think that's one of the things I want to also sort of champion about the film in some ways. And it's a recurring theme actually um, with PTA where with something like Phantom Thread, especially the mirroring is there where the film is centered on someone, but it is actually not even about them in a sense. But anyways, or it is about them, but like in a in a sense where they are not a lead in the film, but they are a supporting actor also. Anyways, Leonardo DiCaprio, the wonderful debut by Chase Infinity, then the almost locked in Oscar win for Sean Penn as Steve Lockjaw, as of now at least. It would be hard for me to see anyone else take this. It's actually just because I think it's a showy performance, but also
Yeah.
one which has a lot of things beneath that showiness to it. So I'm not saying the Oscars will see it beneath the showiness, but I think they like the showiness in that sense, one of those things. Anyways, it also stars Regina Hall, Tiana Taylor, Benicio del Toro, and then there's a lot of great bit part players throughout the film who I might name whenever we are talking about the film, because one of the great joys or of the repeat watches of this film is to legitimately see how wonderfully the bit part players come and go
Yeah.
and make an impact on you, and it's not like that they are just there and they are there to service the story, but they feel very very vital to the film. So yeah, I mean we'll talk about them more. But anyways,
One important credit
sure.
is that, of course, Paul Thomas Anderson and Sarah Murphy are two of the producers. The third is the late Adam Sumner, who recently passed away. He's been vital to a lot of mainstream Hollywood work, principally alongside PTA and Steven Spielberg in the last maybe decade and a half or so. And the film is, I think, dedicated to his memory
Sure.
as well. So
Okay.
and
Perfect.
he was really apparently crucial in getting DiCaprio and
Sure.
PTA to finally do the movie that they were supposed to do
Yeah.
for the longest time.
Boogie Nights was the time I
Boogie
think when
Nights
they were supposed to
was
do.
the
Yeah.
time they were supposed to work together. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All the context, this context setup about the
Yeah.
film details has happened. Now we can begin talking about this. I don't know how to define it. See, I'm not good with being like very, very, I don't want to already shower it with all sorts of phrases because I've seen it thrice now, three times in the cinema. Last time I did this is with what? Decision to Live, I think, is the last time I saw a film four times in the cinema. And before that, probably a Nolan film. Because I have a habit of seeing Nolan films too many times. So
For For someone who
Oppenheimer.
doesn't love him so much,
I
I
mean,
think
I've tempered down on him a little bit, but my love for Inception is enormous. My love for Memento is enormous. I love Dunkirk a lot.
Dunkirk, yeah.
Oppenheimer is something which I didn't care for as much as you guys do.
I mean, I've
Uh,
also progressively cared less and less for
Cared
it.
less. So, anyways, the whole idea is that this is okay. I'll begin with this just because as one way in which we can approach discussing this film, but there are many ways in which we can approach talking about one battle after another, and it really, like most films, of course, but like in this particular film, because it's a big film, an art house, quote unquote, art house blockbuster, what which is the confluence of the artist and the blockbuster, which is why Christopher Nolan I also invoked because it makes sense within that context. And I referenced him yesterday because the third time when I rewatched it yesterday, I was thinking about how the cutting in this is compared to the cutting in something like Oppenheimer. And there's something to be said about the chaos of that and the controlled chaos of this. So, one of those things. But, anyways, my point is that it is with Sinners, the art house blockbuster of this year. Of course, that film made much more money, so good for it, and
Also less expensive to make.
less expensive to make. And Ryan Coogler has had good success actually at the box office.
He's popular, Michael B. Jordan's popular, Haley
Yeah,
Steinfeld's got her own fan base,
yeah.
Jack O'Connell's got his own
I
fan
mean,
base,
it's
so it's
also
a
a
thing
genre
where,
film. I mean, it's pitched
yeah,
as a genre. This is
everyone was
also
like
a
vampire,
genre film
vampire.
in some ways, but like it's much more openly sprawling than Sinners, I feel, in some
Yeah,
ways.
it's difficult to nail down the genre in this. That's why I
I would say
generally go
action
for
is the
drama.
closest it goes to. Action
Is
thriller, political thriller. What do you
I
want to
mean,
say?
to me, it's really. I mean, we'll get into it, but like to me,
Hmm.
it's just actually a drama with
Okay,
elements of interesting bits. Like there's some comedy happening. It's
sure.
definitely got a neo-Western treatment in some ways.
Western also has
Yeah.
because okay, yeah. So yeah, there's like lots of approaches in which we can enter it, but yeah, I want to kind of begin the discussion more on the lines of the art house blockbuster, I suppose, and this whole idea of I guess this directly goes to our experience of the films also. So I'll begin with Chris, then Varun, and then I'll go just what was the experience of watching this in the cinema hall? Because that's and that sort of then that'll inform anyways the sort of art house and blockbuster confluence that is happening in one battle after another, I
Yeah,
think.
so this is my first PTA film on the big screen. I mean, I
Hmm.
talked about it in the previous episode as well, but
Yeah.
I've been introduced to him pretty recently, only about a year or so ago.
Hmm.
So, but I watched a number of his films. I think almost
I
all of
think you
them. I think
watched
I've
all
only
of them
got
except for Vice.
uh, except for Inherent Vice and Boogie Nights, which I've still not
Okay.
watched.
Hmm.
Rest all of them I'd watched, I think, before I went in for one battle after another. So I was very excited because I was like,
Hmm.
I'm relatively newer to this filmmaker who's quite,
Hmm.
loved in the cinephile circles. And I'd originally planned to go over the weekend, but my classes ended up getting cancelled on the day of the release. So I
Hmm.
was just like, I have the time, let's just on the first available show in IMAX, and I went in,
Hmm.
and I was like literally alone in my entire row. It was like 8 people or
Hmm.
less in the entire hall,
So you probably went like
and
a morning thing, right?
yeah, it was like an
Morning,
afternoon.
afternoon.
I generally go
Yeah,
for like
yeah,
afternoon
yeah, yeah.
12 1 shows,
Hmm.
and my God,
Hmm.
like just the sheer exhilaration
Hmm.
that I experienced watching that film. My God,
Hmm.
I like obviously the big moment is the end of the film and
Hmm.
that big sequence.
Hmm.
But I think apart from that as well, I was just sort of trying to place sort of as
Hmm.
I was watching it one battle after another with respect to his other stuff, especially because I couldn't watch Inherent Vice, and I was like, okay, I see this again somewhere in the middle of, and I think this is something we'll talk about a
Hmm.
lot, the sort of early, quote unquote, early work and
Yeah,
his later work. It's like if the sentiments that defined his early work was looked back at, or looked through the eyes of
yeah,
who he is now,
yeah,
in after having made a lot of his later films.
yeah.
That I think was how I was sort of trying to think of it.
Hmm.
And again, the immediate references, I mean, I was placing it, with respect to, at the time, obviously something like Eddington, which became
Which
like a
we
really
won't
interesting.
spoil because Varun hasn't seen it, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the one thing that I want to, the reason I bring that up is I think there's a comparison I made in the previous episode, which kind of want to invoke here, which is how I feel about One Battle After Another. This is not to compare the quality of any of the films before anyone comes to me, but
Yeah.
in that episode, I was talking about why I liked The Master more than There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
And a particular relationship between those two films where one goes for the more cynical approach towards the cruelties and realities of existence, while the other finds a sort of emotional outlet, which is something that I've always and endlessly admired about PTA's work. Like he's such a film bro filmmaker to a lot of people, also Nolan, as many people argue. But for me, what stands out is a very strong emotionality and heart that
Yeah.
is necessary to whatever he makes. And to me, that is how I felt watching One Battle After Another, comparing it to something like Eddington, which I'm like, I admire what Ari Aster does, but it's a little too cynical for me to
Sure.
entirely buy into. Whereas watching One Battle After Another, I was like, this he just gets the exact balance between extremely poignant, like, or very sharp, like, societal critique, great sociological storytelling, and a sort of, really emotional and humanistic sort of approach to these really big systemic problems that he makes into sort of a human drama or interpersonal drama.
Yeah.
So that was just like my sort of general sort of apprehension of approach to how I absolutely, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely up there in my rankings for sure. But excellent performance by Chase Infinity is absolutely a star in the making. Uh, Undeniably so. Leo is, Leo as a bumbling fool is probably one of the most fun you're getting with the characters. Sean Penn is insanely good in whatever in what he's going for, and I think Teyana Taylor's performance is an absolute standout for me in whatever little she's there. But yeah, I just think it's first impressions, at least, it's a very like, obviously PTA, so
You've
it's a
seen
very
it
well
twice,
directed
right?
film. I've seen it twice. So I went back. I tried to catch it in IMAX, but it left pretty
Sure.
early because of the, I think, Avatar re-release or something like that was
Tron,
going
no?
on. Tron as well, and then Thama comes out, so it sort of leaves. But I caught it. I managed to catch it. It was actually playing quite long. I think it
It's still
last
playing here.
weekend or
I'm
the weekend
shocked.
before. Yeah. So I
So
was
in
able to
Dubai,
catch it
good
in.
job UAE. I can put this in.
Yeah, so
So
I actually wasn't planning to watch it a second time because I
yeah,
enjoyed it so much the first time. I was like, I don't want to.
yeah,
I want to like
scared.
sit with this,
Yeah,
and no, I wasn't scared. I was like, I want to like savor this. I don't want
sure,
to
sure.
like, because the other comparison, like the other film I watched twice this year was F1, and to me F1 is such an experiential film that I'm like, there's no problem in watching this back to back like 4 days later. But this one, I was like, I
Sorry,
gave myself two three
when you
weeks.
said that, my heart sank a little bit, but sure. Uh, haven't you rewatched that stupid MI movie also?
Yes, I also
Yeah,
watched
you
that
went for
twice.
that
Yes.
also. Yeah, so I'm just
But
like,
that is another reason
okay,
that
okay,
we don't,
okay, fine, fine, sure, okay. That is a different reason. Sure, okay.
which is not comparable to
Huh.
what I'm talking about
Sure,
here. But
sure.
I gave myself like 2 3 weeks
Okay,
to sit with, and I rewatched it, and fantastic time I had with it.
sure,
Yeah.
okay. Varun, please commence your thoughts.
Um, yeah, so it's the first movie I've like really made the effort to go and watch far
Hmm.
away.
Okay.
Uh, Getting up at like 6 in the morning to catch a bus, and
Hmm.
so which is fine. I mean, you're making those trips very rarely,
Yeah,
in that you're going far away. I've done
yeah.
like 25-minute bus rides and stuff, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Hmm.
The
But
theater
you
I
went
watched,
to the Vista Vision stuff, no?
yeah, it
Huh.
was one of 3 screens in the world
Yeah,
playing VistaVision.
yeah,
And this is one of 2 VistaVision films I've watched this year.
yeah.
Three actually. There's Brutalist,
Hmm.
there's
Oh, wow.
One Battle
Another
After Another.
favorite. Hmm.
Yeah, really, we both love it, don't we? And Bugonia, which actually has more VistaVision
What?
footage
Really?
than
Okay.
One Battle. Yeah, Bugonia
Okay.
is, I think, 95% shot on VistaVision camera.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And Again, I wish I'd gone.
Isn't it televised? Like, isn't it in the narrowed frame?
Yeah. That is the
Okay.
VistaVision format.
I
Yeah,
what's the wide thing then?
that's just IMAX.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So VistaVision is not as wide.
Okay.
VistaVision is more about height.
Sure.
So packed theater, which is a great thing
Of
always.
course.
Um, I think it's a 600 seater or something like that, and it was just the cheap seats that were left ultimately, maybe 50, 70 odd seats like that. But great fun. When the good thing about watching a film like this is people who are interested in cinema will make the trek to see it
Yeah.
in its format and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the giggling idiots who are going to start talking 2 minutes into the movie, which does happen occasionally.
Well, when did it happen recently for you?
Kanta and Weapons both.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I have this complaint about Indians abroad is that they treat any Indian only experience as this is India, and then there's literally people going and watching Gujarati movies and doing garba over there anyway, or whatever they call it. So it's everybody's disciplined, everybody's there for just the film.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
Which is
I just
important.
imagined someone doing garba in the middle of one
They're
battle after another. When do you have the time to do garba in this film? Is the
No,
other
what
thing.
is the song? They play like a very popular like pop song during the
Dhruv and
prom
me
thing,
are
no?
asking.
Home the homecoming or whatever dance there is. I forget which one it
I don't
is.
know. There's dirty work when that's the transition, the song that plays when she transitions, like when the film transitions from the first phase to Chase Infinity, essentially becoming 16 years, which is a wonderful transition. But anyways, Varun, you were saying,
So yeah, so 2 hours 42 minutes they pretty much coast by.
yeah.
Which is something I realized with Oppenheimer on my third viewing, which was this year, and my first time watching it in IMAX is when I said, okay, this movie has got a lot going on,
Huh.
and it could do with some more refining.
Hmm.
And I don't mean the kind of refining the censor board in India gave it.
No, that's the MVP. No.
Yeah.
I
Best costume
genuinely had
design.
no idea that happened till I watched it this year. Like
Oh, you
after I
didn't notice the
downloaded it,
black parts.
I did no, they literally like Photoshop a cost dress onto her. So I downloaded it to watch it with my dad this year, and like
Yeah.
4 or 5 months back. That is when I noticed like, oh, this wasn't in that movie. Uh,
So really enjoyed
Yeah.
it. I thought Chase Infinity was great. I
Mhm.
thought Regina Hall was great.
Mm.
Benicio, I loved. I thought he was the coolest cat. It's my favorite performance in the film. I really
Sure.
like Penn.
Mm.
Um, and this is a very different kind of Penn, especially if you've seen him in something like Mystic River,
Yeah.
where he's super dramatic.
Yeah, yeah,
Except for
yeah.
that awful last shot, which I don't know why Clint Eastwood put in that
I've
movie.
forgotten, but I remember
Him
he's
and Kevin
like
Bacon.
okay.
But him when the daughter's body is discovered and
Yeah.
just those 8-10 cops holding on to him.
Yeah.
He's
Sir,
screaming his
I
guts out.
know. Yeah, I know you're saying Mystic River. You know
Yeah,
what my memory of him is.
exactly.
So, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
so it's a nicely calibrated performance, I felt.
huh,
Like it's got the showiness, of course,
huh.
but it realizes that this man does not believe that this is showy. Too often
Yeah.
the actor is so hyper aware of the showiness of it
Hmm.
that it just becomes a caricature.
Yeah.
This walks that fine line, which is difficult to
Yeah.
do. I thought Leo was also pretty solid.
Hmm.
And it's a very well made film. Like I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
fault. I just felt like okay, somewhere it didn't engage me in the ways I expected it to.
Sure.
And there's lots of times you watch movies that are very solid throughout, but you don't necessarily love them. This was one of those. I really liked it.
Hmm.
Do I love it? No, because that's just how these things happen sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
And I did watch it a second time as well. This
Huh.
was not my first PT in a theater. I'd watched
Huh.
There Will Be Blood on 35 earlier
Yeah.
this year, which is a rewatch, of course.
Hmm.
And I watched Phantom Thread on 70.
हम्म
and then I'd watched a restored
ये
35
ये सब यूके में रहने
print
के
of
वो हैं बाय द वे.
Magnolia.
I just don't
Of
want to get
course.
anyone to get any impressions कि Varun has done all this while staying in India. No, no, he's outside. इंडिया में
I
नहीं होता
wish
ये
we
सब.
had this. I wish that's
सर
the
कुछ नहीं
one
होने
thing that
वाला.
we do.
Hmm.
No, I'm still hopeful. The Film Heritage Foundation is doing a lot of good work. Maybe we'll in 20 years time maybe we'll reach that point where we put old movies on
सर तब तक
and
तो
people
मूवी
would watch.
सिनेमास ही बंद हो जाएंगे ना सारे.
नहीं बंद होंगे मैं इतना निहिलिस्टिक नहीं हूँ मेरे ख्याल
Okay.
में और
Yeah, I
अगर
mean,
बंद
I
होने का
probably,
टाइम आया तो आप बिजनेस क्या कुछ तो
अच्छा
ढूंढ
मैं चालू करूँ और खुद को डुबाने के लिए. नाइस. नाइस वरुण. ओके श्योर. No, no,
but
but
yeah
point taken. No, no. Also I should take off my nihilism cap for this episode, especially because unlike
Yes.
Chris, who is very much has championed this whole idea of liking your films which have a sort of ray of hope and beating heart sort of thing. I've actually been fairly consistent in saying that I very much appreciate my doses of misanthropy and cynicism a
Hmm.
lot. My big issue,
doses
yeah,
that is
doses. I
oxygen.
know, huh? Yeah, like oxygen. My issue is when it becomes like, again, I apologize. I did not think I would be mentioning this, but something like Bailatar is not for me because he like peddles in human misery almost to the extent where I'm like, just take a gun and shoot yourself. I don't need to watch the film. Like one of those things where I'm just like, uh, uh, it begins at a place of no hope and then goes downhill from there. I'm like, okay, then I don't want to go down more downhill.
Hmm.
So, anyways, this I think the reason why I have such great affection for One Battle After Another is because it's not a film I would necessarily jive with.
Hmm.
It's because for me this type, I mean, of course, apart from it's terrifically made, that's a different thing, right? It's like what Varun was saying, ki sometimes you like films, but you're not like you're not entirely like into them in a sort of loving way, like because they conflict in some ways with the types of films you like. Sometimes they are
Hmm.
more broad in their appeal, and this is much broader in its appeal than PTA's recent work. So the film Bro claims are just odd to me because he shifted gears completely from, I think,
Hmm.
Boogie Nights and Magnolia are film Magnolia to a lesser extent. Boogie Nights is the showcase for film
Hmm.
bro-iness. Like that is him being a film bro to the max as much as
Hmm.
you can. And I don't think the film is bad at all. I like it, but it is very much a young person's film, an over eager, overzealous. I can make the best film about the porn industry as essentially a gangster outfit. But yes,
Hmm.
I will make it exactly like how Scorsese has made all of his gangster films. And I'm like, yes. So it's one of those things where it's like, um, so that sensibility and the sprawl of Magnolia also is there in something like One Battle After Another. And what you were saying about the whole idea that this is an older film. This is one
Hmm.
of PTA's old films in a way, back to his old films, and a lot of people have called it a return to form, which to me is just like bogus because I don't think there is a going away from form really for PTA. But
Hmm.
anyways,
Yeah,
but this
but
is
people
not.
were cold on like licorice pizza.
They were cold
So
on Phantom Thread also, some of them. So
Hmm.
I think it's the sensibility switched a lot for him. Like after There Will Be Blood, the Master onwards to Licorice Pizza is actually it has a lot of favorites for a lot of us actually. When we
Hmm.
discussed this last time, I know Inherent Vice, Chris, you aren't crazy about, and a lot of people aren't
Yeah.
crazy about. I rewatched it. I think it's terrific, and I'll be mentioning it in this episode a
Hmm.
little bit too. But his films just I hate to say it without they are more confident in their own
Hmm.
ability. They don't feel the need to uh, you know call attention to themselves, which I think his earlier films do. I don't know about There Will Be Blood. I probably need to watch it again, but I have seen a couple of minutes and I was like, इसमें भी है थोड़ा तो वो. Like he is very
Magnolia
much
definitely has it.
Magnolia में तो sir पूरा है. Like he is literally the camera is
No,
calling attention
to
to itself
me,
always.
There Will Be Blood is pretty much a perfect film. Like
Sure.
Hmm.
because it feels like very much a companion piece to No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
They're
Those
made
two
in the
are
same
yeah,
place practically.
yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like even Hard Eight for instance,
Yeah, yeah,
you also watched, I think, recently.
yeah. Recently rewatched.
I was
That's
like,
his most stripped down compared to the
yeah,
other
but
two
it's
that
still
follow.
trying to do
It is
new things,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So over here, he's like, okay, less is more, kind of,
Yeah,
even
and
though there
liquor.
is so much going on.
Yeah, and Licorice Pizza and Master, I think, and Phantom Thread to some extent, like push it even more extreme. Like they don't have the sprawl, right? They are contained very. I mean, Licorice Pizza has a sprawling feel to it, but it's a different sort of much more loose limbed than the tightly packed nature of something like One Battle
No,
After
I
Another.
feel like his films stop, or he stops feeling the need to justify
Justify, yeah,
himself
yeah,
and his film, because you can really, I would say, because I really like There Will Be Blood and I
uh,
admire it a lot, but like I
mm,
said, it's not my, like Varun is saying
mm,
for One Battle After Another, it's not my cup of tea.
mm-hmm.
But I still feel like there to me is a little bit, like you said, a bit of the, yeah, this is a film that I am making and I
Mm-hmm.
need to like justify my own existence. But Phantom Thread, The Master, and Licorice Pizza are just, I feel like
Yeah.
Paul Thomas Anderson just in his zone, like he knows what he wants to
I
make.
mean,
And
in a way, Licorice Pizza the most. It's the least
absolutely.
showy at. Like it's just like like I think I said, like if older PTA is essentially someone walking into a prom night essentially with like with the most flamboyant suit and tie and everything and wants everyone to look at him. This is him walking into that same environment with a freaking Hawaiian t-shirt or whatever and just like just strolling about there. And I'm just like, I
Or a
like that.
bathrobe, or a
Whatever,
dressing
no,
gown.
no, 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 bathrobe is too showy. That's the whole thing. It's not too showy. So it's the whole idea that almost like casual. It feels like the film has just been made without thinking. But of course, there is a lot of thought in the film. It's just that it feels absolutely no need to signal it out to you. That's what Licorice Pizza is like. Is my point.
Ab-
Which One Battle After Another is not. Because it is shot through with the same sensibility of his older work, but where I think the older work had this tendency for me to, this has a lot of characters to move around places. And the older films, I've always felt that, but why are you cutting here, right? Why am I going to this character? Why am I not staying with this character? What is this? Like, why are we shifting gears so much? Why is there so many dolly ins and push ins? Why do you think you need to telegraph the emotional intensity so much to me? All that never came through when I have watched One Battle After Another three times. I will say there is maybe one moment which I still feel I'm like, I know why it's there, but I think the narrative momentum only stops in that particular scene. Apart from
Right at
that,
the end, of course.
no, that's okay. That is also extraneous, but there's one after the backturn cross sequence happens, which is
Yeah.
mesmerizing. After that sequence ends, there's this cut to the Christmas Adventurers Club, which is essentially a Doctor Strangelove moment, where they are sitting at the bunker in the downstairs in the house of someone and they're celebrating Christmas, Saint Nick, and all that. I'm like, that scene is the only scene in the film. I'm like, the momentum in that scene is snapped for me. Apart from that, I think I was like,
Fair.
I was
That
just
much.
like, there is no place. I'm like, you should, I felt that you've stayed on a beat too long for one character or anything else. I'm like, otherwise it just flowed like anything for me. And
Though
then
I have to say, one second, my favorite detail about that meeting is that the location where they shot it is actually Ronald Reagan's mansion,
oh, is
which
it?
I think is the most wonderful possible
That is quite good. Yeah. No, no.
Yeah.
place to
I
have.
Downtown
actually,
New York.
I actually have come to. I first viewing me, I was just like, where are we? Like, why have we even cut to here? But second, third viewing me, I actually find the scene quite funny on
It's
its own.
lovely.
Especially the guy in the middle who's the make it
The old
clean.
guy.
Yeah, yeah, make it
Yeah.
clean. Like he got his dick dirty or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So, and then he says it in a very like sadistic way, but like also comical. But anyways, but the thing with the because the film flows, unlike I think something like I would say Boogie Nights and Magnolia, which feel like they are
I mean,
being
Magnolia, it's a
pushed
problem of
around.
form. It's
Huh?
like when you're doing the hyperlink narrative, you're
No,
always
but there are
giving.
lots, but there's no hyperlink here, but there's a lot of characters in this also, right? There's a lot of
Definitely.
switching around.
But I think that kind of sprawl problem is more common to a hyperlink story
Sure.
because you are having to make all those connections. Sometimes they are
Sure.
ambiguous. Over here, because it's still narrative
Yeah.
and it's a single narrative,
Yeah.
you're able to, even though, okay, Lockjaw and Sensei never meet,
Yeah.
right? So you could be like, okay, what would have happened had their paths crossed? But it doesn't matter because it's narrative.
Yeah.
You can just keep going. I think
Yeah.
that's Magnolia. In Magnolia, it's more like also it's an indulgent film.
Yeah. Yeah.
One battle after another feels much more like I want to tell this particular story,
Yeah.
which to my mind at least is essentially a father coming of age
Sure.
in a way.
Sure,
But
sure,
yeah,
got it. No, no, I get it. No, no, yeah, your point is taken. I think the way in which just, but there are so many moving parts in the film for me that the whole idea is that cutting from one bit to another, I'm like, in something like his previous films, I would feel this, that why has he not, stuck to this bit more? This bit has more, like, emotional resonance at this point. Like it felt like he cut at the wrong moment sometimes in something like, I mean, wrong moment for me, of course, not. I know a lot of people love Magnolia, so so it's one of those things. So because that flow is there, and that and I think the performances by and no, I won't say by and large, the performances are for me across the board kind of just insane and cover up a lot of the tracks which I think the film is asking them to cover up. So there are lots of character beats here where uh, are being covered because of the performances, which we've talked about this before, where and I'm sure there's writing material within the film, like they probably did the background thing about it, but to get a character to change from one point to another, that in this, rather than having a dialogue, they have a lot of attention, which is why the whole close-up approach is also that they gave a lot of attention to people's faces and how they react to situations, and all that stuff is there. And I was like, and when the ending happens, and of course this is spoilers for everyone, I'm just like, I can't, and I've seen it thrice now. I'm like, there is no way I would want an ending where she shoots Leonardo DiCaprio, even by mistake. Like to me, I was like, no, I like this almost naiveness or naive optimism of this film. It's not naive, actually. It is optimistic in a way which I feel feels absolutely earned. It has a fundamental, it's asking for a fundamental trust in people, of people, or it's trusting most people, I think, and understanding that everyone is kind of trying in their own messed up ways to fix something. Especially, I think how much he's focusing on someone like all the immigrant characters, especially, and of course all the characters who are on the outside. Like, of course, Lockjaw. I think the film has sympathy for Lockjaw in the sort of pathetic. Sort of, it's almost like he is pathetic, but there is in the performance there are glimpses of just of a man who doesn't understand what he is beyond just being a part of the system, even though he realizes that he has these desires which are contradicting it consistently.
yeah,
I
a
think
man
he
who just wants to belong
do
with other people in a way.
who've promised him that he'll be part of a quote unquote bigger or like larger belonging or better belonging, because that's the whole ideology, right? And what the Christmas Adventurers Club has. But
Which is like
no.
why my favorite moment with him, which is also one of the film's funniest moments, is when Chase Infinity comments about how tight
His shirt is.
his shirt
Yeah.
is, and he very strongly goes, "I am not a homosexual."
And then
I
she
mean,
says
he's
very
got some of the best lines in the film
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, she says like I didn't say that or
Like,
something. He says, "I'm not gay if that's what
yeah,
you're asking," and the
yeah,
the strength and the
Not
venom in
yeah,
the
yeah,
it's so emblematic of
Yeah.
what like this,
yeah,
even the thought of such a this thing, it's a very normal thing, but it's like it fits so perfectly into the image that like is being constructed of him, of this man who wants to adhere to
yeah,
the standard,
Yeah.
the quote unquote standard, so up this thing. And in that adherence, he's one has the desire to deviate, but in that hyper adherence he's almost peacocking and going towards that that caricature of that
Yeah.
conformity, right?
Yeah. So I think all that, like, and you mentioned Eddington, of course, and to me, this is very much, I am the person who should be liking Eddington and Begonia more than this. I'll be upfront about that. I like that sort of uh, very much, going down the path where things generally go down
No,
a
no, sir.
path.
Say it as it is. You are very much a sari dunya jala denge kind of person.
No, it's not about Sari Dunya Jala Denge. It's coming more from a place of
Jala do.
mistrust. No, of mistrust and paranoia, and of uh, the fact that there is no point of having a discussion. That's the whole idea of something like Eddington and Begonia, in that we have pushed us to a point where none of this matters anymore, and we are essentially are part of a system which is much larger than which is there in this. We are part of a system which is much larger than this. It's just that in this film, individuals matter, individual things matter, and the film has the grace to afford this not just to its main characters but to bit part players. And I think that's where maybe I also go very soft on it, in the sense that I'm like, this is a film that genuinely has hope. It doesn't feel phony at all, in the sense that it does think that people are capable of helping each other to make things somewhat reasonable in an environment which is incredibly fractious, right? And entirety of the background cross sequence is that you have gazillions of character bits in that which are absolutely terrific. I mean, the nurse and the lawyer bits are absolutely tremendous for the 2 seconds they are on, essentially, on screen. The way the lawyer especially goes and tries to, like, convince Leonardo DiCaprio to accept that he has diabetes is magnificent too. But I think it's because every bit of this film feels genuinely engaged in a sort of hope that to me didn't ring false. I know it has to some people, but I just, I, even though I think the film could end without the bit with Sean Penn, and with it could just end with the letter reading, because I think the letter is very wonderful. I teared up twice. So in the second and third time I watched it, but which is not something that happens to me. Again, I'm saying, because it's the sort of hopeful thing which I would scoff at, but I did not. I bought it, and it doesn't need the final mirroring moment, essentially, of Chase Infinity sitting in a car and essentially going and
Yeah.
beginning her adventure.
As
I
it
don't
is.
think it needs it, but I just don't care. I like it still. Like, I like the bits which I think are excessive are still really, really good to me. The Christmas adventurers are my least favorite bit of the film, and I think I could happily take them being less in the film, but I understand why they are there. They are good. They are a good way of of deflating Sean Penn's character even more, in a way, or his very misguided ambitions, in a way. So yeah, no. Sorry, I babbled on a lot because
No.
I
No,
love
but
the film, but yeah,
I agree that it's fundamentally a very earnest film, and
yeah,
I've been saying this, I say this consistently, but to me, sincerity and commitment are the two
yeah.
most important things when it comes to a film that I love, and that and I was, you said you teared up twice. I was proper bawling both times that I watched it, because I have a deep affection for father-daughter narratives.
Yeah.
Not a daughter anymore, but still that relationship is very meaningful to me. So
Yeah.
Right.
there is just such, like, the way Chase Infinity and Leonardo DiCaprio go back and forth with each other
Yeah.
in that scene where the
They
letter
have
is
very
read out.
they have very little screen time together, actually.
No, but
Uh,
even in the
yeah,
really, like, I cannot fathom an ending of the film where
yeah,
Leonardo DiCaprio gets shot.
yeah,
Like, to me, that moment with the trust device and
yeah,
him walking up to her and her still sort of questioning and then running up to him is the thesis statement of the film to me.
yeah,
And it genuinely, like, made me so emotional, and I was proper crying through the ending of that. Obviously giggling a bit because my theater in the second viewing, it was a bit more packed. Absolutely burst out laughing when that older man says semen demon in
Yeah.
that. And also to the point of the Christmas Adventurers Club. I mean,
Mm.
when we get into the discourse eventually, there was something
Mhm.
about that as well, which I forgot to
Okay.
bring up, which
Mhm.
we'll talk about. But if there's anything else, we can
I mean, no,
talk about
like
that
to me,
first.
again, the parenting part of the film is what is most crucial to it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there's a sense of brotherhood through Sensei Sergei and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. But in a way, Regina Hall's character is a foster mother in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Leonardo DiCaprio has been, or Bob has been a dad for 16 years.
Mm.
But this is when he has to be a dad actively.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
let life go by as it.
Yeah.
I wish the film had sort of explained how he continued to have money over these 16 years if all he's done is smoke pot. Like
Yeah.
somewhere, money's gotta have come from somewhere, right? But like
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And again, I like parenting narratives,
Mm.
positive parenting. I think because
Mm.
we get a lot of discourse about bad parenting,
Mm.
and presumably that is what a lot of people have experienced,
Mm.
right? To me, as a product of wholly positive parenting, I am
Mm.
happy to see those narratives play out on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also, sorry, just to, I know this comparison has been made a lot, so I will reinforce it.
Yeah.
And I knew about this comparison before I watched it, so it's not like I was actively seeking it, but it is very clearly there is the Searchers, John Ford Searchers is a reference point for uh, PTA.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said it's actually the anti-Searchers in many ways, because Searchers is all about this man trying to reckon with the fact that his sister, I think, is uh, cannot be his sister because she has been raped by someone who is half Comanche, I think, or Comanche, one of the tribes. So the whole idea is that, but we are following this character only, this traditional Western hero who then has to sort of reckon with, the mirroring image of him and uh, the bandit in many ways. And then what does the role of the and what does he then do with this woman who's his sister? Does he bring her back, or does he kill her, sort of like that, does he, like, sort of like basically like that, which this entirely erodes actually, because the Western hero in this typical hero is Leo, and he has nothing to do in the movie except for chase people around. He is the
Yeah.
stump, right? That's the whole idea. You're a
I
runner,
mean,
he's a
if you're
stump.
looking
So
for a heroic figure in the film, it has to be Sensei, right?
yeah, Benicio del Toro is there. Then Chase
And
Infinity, of course, is there,
Regina
and
Hall
then
is, I mean,
Regina
yeah,
Hall
but
is there. Yeah,
Chase Infinity is still, you can say, adolescent, so she's
yeah,
responding to those urges a
sure,
lot more,
sure.
right? Adults in this film need to know
Yeah,
what they're up to, more
yeah,
importantly, because
yeah,
the kids can make mistakes.
yeah.
But like Chris pointed out to me, the parenting narratives is the clincher in the film,
Mm,
because it's about just being there for your kid,
yeah.
really,
Absolutely.
and doing your utmost. Like I remember, like this is very weird. My dad
Mm,
was shouting at someone or something.
mm,
I remember, not at me, and it's clear from my demeanor. I've been shouted at very little in my life. And he said something like, "There's no end of the earth to which I won't go for my children." So he was really annoyed with this person. He said, "I'll raise hell, heaven, and high water for my kids," and that is very much the idea of a parent that I have grown up with.
Sure.
Like my mum showing up on live streams and yesterday giving me feedback on the Farah Khan episode.
Yeah.
She's listening to it.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I don't need running feedback, but this is good. Thank you.
No, no, it's very good.
So I like those depictions. Roofman is again another film of that kind.
We're going to discuss.
Yeah, which we'll discuss at another point.
Hmm.
And then the film is just fun. Like the Christmas Adventurers work for me for the simple reason that that's how so much of this whole white supremacy
Yeah.
nonsense comes about, right? I remember this, you may have to cut, so I'm giving you a
No,
time.
no, go ahead. Yeah.
Somebody telling me about their grandfather being on a group called Bacha Hua Brahman Samaj or something like that. And I found that so hilarious. Because people end up seeking out like-minded people in the hope
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
belonging to something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Only over here, he forgets that he's still not of the manor born types. So he gets rogered by them at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Like, well and truly.
I mean,
Just as
his
he,
the final image is quite tragic only. Like him,
yeah,
like
him
when the
burning.
like looking through that and like like
Yeah,
ekdam
yeah.
crammed up in that
Incinerated.
squared box,
Yeah, yeah.
essentially. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So yeah,
it's on the whole, the film works in that sense. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Tiana Taylor's performance.
is
It's
there any
very,
thing specific that
to
irks?
me, it felt just very one note. She's
Okay.
constantly in that I'm a badass register.
You didn't
And
think that there was much in it when because again, I think she has the toughest role because she has to sell a lot in a very short amount of time. That section of the film, which I think you and Amartya had messaged saying that
yeah,
you could do without the prologue, I think, and it
yeah,
would still be a great film. I just think that the French 75 ka rebellion is shot through like a a whirlwind montage in many ways.
yeah,
The whole idea that everything is fast paced, everything has that sort of unrelenting rhythm to it, which is what their whole thing is, showing that they are rebels in many
yeah,
ways.
yeah,
But I think with Tiana Taylor's character, and again, this is also credit to Bauman and P.T. Anderson for focusing on her face, for me at least, is this whole idea that she goes through postpartum depression in many ways.
yeah,
And the whole idea of being conflicted in her two duties of being a mother who stays at home, which to her feels unnatural because
yeah,
she belongs to that sort of revolutionary background, right? So that bit of the film is essentially compressed in about 2 to 3 minutes, and I think if people take offense to the character there, I totally understand what they are meaning. Like this whole idea that they can't buy what her character is because this whole idea is that because I know that Perfidia's character is a proper sort of place of contention for a lot of people. I like how open ended her character ends up being. I like that the film doesn't neatly tie her up to being a bad person or a good person. The fact that the film ends on her note being read by her is automatically a sort of eradication of this whole idea that she is a bad person in this film. She makes selfish decisions. I think that's and she's called a rat in many ways, and I think her decisions are selfish very much, and they are detrimental to the people around her. But I think this whole idea that she's just bad just never struck me because I think her performance in those moments sort of communicated this conflict, and especially I think when, because again, I think that's maybe another scene which maybe PTA could play down the playfulness of, but again, maybe complicates it a little bit, is the soldier boy with Sean Penn. When she is in the hotel, and then but then the great thing about that is that sequence appears to be like this very raunchy romantic thing, and then it cuts, and then she's just walking silently like in like through like these dark lights, and it's just this whole idea that her affection for him and all that is so like complicated. Again,
yeah,
there is another film here about that, which but this is not that film, is my point. Like that's my, I guess, defense in some ways, is that character to me, just because it's not explored entirely doesn't mean that it is reduced. At least to me it remains like sort of a hovering, has a presence, I think, because of the performance, and has a again mystery. I guess I like films or characters which are fairly opaque almost in a sense, I guess.
right,
So, because I know I was reading a bit about Phantom Thread also recently when I rewatched it, and some people said that Alma's character is one note, and I'm like, really? She's the most mysterious character in the whole film. Like like her desires and her performance is so like like they feel you can't pin it down to anything, and that's what I felt with Perfidia's character here, and I was like, I kind of like that PTA has decided to not go and diagnose her or to not go and pin her down. And I thought the performance also did that. Is my sort of place where I'm coming with from that for that
No,
character
but
at
like
least.
that's very interesting, right? Because you're talking like two things I want to say. One is you're reading that scene with Sean Penn as raunchy and romantic. My
Hmm.
first instinct was to think of it as a kind of assault in a sense
Okay.
of her,
Okay.
because she's essentially being coerced into this. Like it's
Yeah.
like you
She is
either
being
turn up
coerced
or
into it. Yeah.
so I was reading it as her being this character who's essentially weaponizing her sexuality in
Sure.
order to save her moment, which is a form of coercion and assault. I mean, in the sense that if you take it in a much more complicated
Hmm.
sense than you take it instinctively.
I mean the other way in which this is shot is like essentially him on top of her and the camera looking from above and it being a sort of smothering of individuality. But here I think it's
So like a
more.
reverse of what happens
Have you
in
seen
Basic Instinct.
Safe by Todd
Oh, you
Haynes?
went there. I went
Yeah.
to Basic Instinct.
Basic. No, 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 not that. No, no, no. I don't mean exploitative in that sense.
No, no, not exploitative, but in early on in Basic Instinct, I think there's a
Hmm.
top down shot
Hmm.
of Sharon Stone
Hmm.
literally killing this dude
Yeah.
as she does
Hmm.
throughout that film.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering if PTA had shot Lockjaw from that perspective,
Sure.
is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of like making him look
More
much
evil.
stronger and bigger. But here he looks like a wimp in the
Yeah, so
scene. So
I think that's the beauty of the
yeah.
complication that he's bringing to it, right?
Hmm.
Like, Perfidia's character is complicated because she often does things that are selfish, but that you can still again like when you see it as postpartum depression, it makes it make sense, right? What she's doing, and I think fundamentally it also comes back to the parenting point, because I think the most important fact is that the film is about found family. It's about
Yeah.
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
It's not about like the Chase Infinite or
Blood
uh,
sort of.
Villa's blood family are the people who end up quote unquote betraying her. It's
Yeah.
Perfidia's character who's unable to give her the
Yeah.
motherly affection that she
Hmm.
needs, and it's she find Sean Penn ends up being her father. So
Yeah.
it's very important that, and this goes on to how the film is about community. Benicio del
Hmm.
Toro's character and Regina Hall and the French 75
Yeah.
post the 16-year gap in
I mean,
general is
the
about.
wonderful first, the another moment I teared up the second watch this when because it all begins with Avanti Q taking the one of the first members who I forget his name, who hands them the trust devices
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
who's basically helping immigrants enter the
Into
country.
Backton Cross, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's taken first, but in the scene which we see him, uh, he's taken, and then when he's being taken into the car, then the
Those
camera
kids come in.
lingers on the children's faces for a
Yeah.
second, and then they just walk in and then read out the code. And I was like, that's so like it's so wonderful. It's the way of portraying the sense of community you have
Yeah.
created, right? Like it's one of those things.
I mean,
Yeah,
So one
and
of the
sorry, go ahead, Chris.
no, I was saying the big contrast of that is very much with the bombast of the opening,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
what Paul Thomas Anderson is essentially contrasting here is this comparison between this extremely, unfortunately, LARPy idea of a quote unquote revolution that ends up being nothing more than some people going around and doing a bit of, public ruckus. But and that failing by the very person who's running it, Perfidia's character, and you contrast that with the much more quieter, much more reinforced, and much more effective system of community that is just run by people caring for each other
yeah.
and looking out for each other, not to tear a system down, which is just not what is feasible, but in building trust and building ways to save each other, ways to understand the systems of power that
Yeah,
you're
but
under and to
okay,
subvert them in
yeah.
the quieter ways. Yeah.
So I'm going to get. So the critique would be, and I think that it has been, that this defensive quote unquote approach is not radical enough, right? But my thing is like this measure of rebelling is not radical enough, and the radicalists in this film are essentially quote unquote I don't know if they equate it. I always think he has more sympathy for the radicals than the white supremacists are genuinely like cartoon characters almost.
Yeah.
Like Sean Penn isn't, I think, a cartoon, but the others are. He's veering between cartoon and actual person.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
Sorry,
think
Varun, you were saying.
people believe a filmmaker owes them their kind of politics
Sure.
Yeah.
in his or her or their cinema as well.
Hmm.
That's bullshit.
Okay.
Simply put, because
Hmm.
nobody's going to agree with your politics is so specific, so particular to each person. I mean, I'm not particularly fond of the communists, so I'm probably not that sympathetic to the left
Yeah.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
But I certainly villainize the right more
Yeah.
in any debate. I believe the left, especially as it's depicted in this film,
Hmm.
is the kind of idea of internet keyboard warriors having gotten their hands on a couple of weapons and thinking that this is how they'll be able to
Hmm.
take over
Absolutely.
the means of the system and seize the means of production and all that jazz. Whereas it's not that simple. It's not as bloodless as they managed to make it look initially. And there are means within a system which permit you to change the form of the system or alter it. But you have to do that within the system itself.
I think this is actually,
Absolutely.
sorry. So, no, so you were saying this, it's great actually you said this because, in a way, and again, this goes back to the heart of what a lot of times, I guess, as a cinephile, you have to contend with because you watch a lot of art house films, you watch a lot of quote unquote radical art, right? I think. And this is ig- the message or like the whole idea of this film is very much about creating something within an established infrastructure which has a sort of radical spirit to it, as opposed to, you know, rejecting what there is already.
As opposed to wanting advocating for anarchy. Basically,
Yeah.
No, I
Okay.
disagree there. I wouldn't say it's advocating for anarchy. I think
no. I'm not saying
No.
the film is
about
advocating.
I'm saying that rhetoric as well. I think
Okay.
maybe I understand your lack of sympathies. More closer to that than probably you would be. So I empathize on either side. I feel much more like it's a certain inability to accept the actual state of the world
Sure.
versus sort of dealing with it. And I think it's also definition of what radical means, right? Like I think there is nothing more radical than love and empathy. To have that kind of unconditional sense of care across for who you are and what you do, and we build the ability to care for you regardless of our personal relation.
Yeah, it's the
Like
don't go selfish on me, right?
exactly. I mean, like, for example, what the sensei character does, like him housing these people in his
Yeah.
home, is an incredibly radical thing to do in a system which is criminalizing. I mean, the sort of allusions to ICE and that kind of work that is happening right now in the US. It is incredibly radical to house these people in your home, give them shelter, have an escape route planned for them. It's not showy, it's not performative, and it's not making a quote unquote statement, but that is much more affecting people's lives than what these people did freeing a couple of people from or like a couple of hundred people
I mean,
from
but it's also about. I mean, that's why the whole first act is also sexualized in a way, which I think is not there. Then with the strand with Sensei definitely isn't there. But you know,
it's
this whole
fetishized, right?
it's
More than
fetishized
sexualized.
almost. Yeah.
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 It's like
So
it's made into this thing, and
yeah.
the fact is that it's not a thing. It is a much larger, much more like more greater wave of changing people's perspectives. And I
Yeah.
think that's what PT is reckoning with the system as it exists. He's not
Yeah.
disillusioned, or not disillusioned. He's not he doesn't have any illusions or any like pretensions of what it could be, or revolution as
No,
this
but
way that other people
yeah. I
conceptualize
also
it.
think
Yeah.
it is, and I don't mean to like denigrate the films. I know some people think it's very radical, some people think it's not radical enough. I don't think it's quote unquote radical. I think it's a very, very, I just think it's an extraordinarily made film, first and foremost. But I also just think we I think we talked about how some filmmakers operate best when they stay in their lane, and some filmmakers can try and go out of the lane in a way which is very productive. This is to me some a filmmaker who is doing the thing of staying in his lane but still making a film about things around him in a way which makes total sense. The closest person to PTA here is Bob, is Leonardo DiCaprio's character. It's not the other characters around him. He's not someone who's, uh, in that sense, I feel almost it's a genuinely, and I mean it even, I know DiCaprio has like stuff in reality, which is whatever stuff he's doing. I
Shady.
don't, shady in the very least. Yes, so,
I mean, yeah, we can start with the environmentalism when you roam around in a private jet kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
yes,
So, like,
hypocrisy
it
to
just
now
goes
वो
up
तो
from
होता ही
there.
है. हाँ हाँ हाँ.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, my point is, in that sense, I think it's a fairly modest gesture on both their parts to play to begin as sort of this begin as the center essentially of the film and then increasingly move outside of the center.
I
And I
mean,
mean that not in a political sense. I mean that in the sort of like not the
narrative
spotlight moves
focus.
away from
Yeah.
you. It's
I
it's
mean,
very
I think that's also telling of DiCaprio's transition as an actor
sure.
as he moves closer to his mid 50s,
Yeah.
which he must be approaching by now. He realizes that his ability to frontline a film is going to be hampered more and more by what he can physically pull off.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to do even a Titanic probably again, in the
Yeah.
sense of the
Why?
kind of
He'll make him
physical
blue.
demands. No, the kinds of physical demands that kind of role, being in the water for so long, and
You
stuff like
think
that can have.
you think Mr. Cameron will make a film with real things again?
I mean, I don't know. I don't care. I'm not a subscriber to Cameron Cinema, but like
Okay.
on the
Achha, you are the person who doesn't like Titanic also, I forgot.
I don't
Right.
like Titanic. I've
Chris is shaking his head in disbelief or
happily.
in okay, in disbelief.
Utter disbelief.
I mean,
Yes.
I find the love story between Naomi Watts and Andy Serkis in King Kong more believable.
Wow.
Anyway, so to me, I think some of the criticism that the film has attracted, one matter, is that Bob is not a political being at all. He is. I can't speak for the two. I don't want to speak for the two of you, and you should probably.
I mean, they are ex-revolutionaries, by the way. I mean,
He is
most of
not.
them. He's not.
He-
Yeah, he just
he's-
forgotten everything.
No,
He's a
no,
drug and
forget
alcohol
that.
lover.
He never
is-
subscribed to it in
He
the
never
first place.
exactly. So there was a time when I really fancied this girl who was very keen on law. At that time, my sister was already a lawyer. 5 years in the house we've had a lawyer. I've never been interested in law. Suddenly, because this was a girl I wanted to go out with or was talking to, and because she wanted to do law, मैंने इतनी वकालत समझ ली है उन 2 हफ्तों में.
So you're saying you're basically doing the activism for the person
Exactly.
or the
He-
sex, whatever that means in
I
that
mean, yeah,
scenario.
whatever.
Yeah.
In Bob's case, he is doing all this just because he wants to be with Perfidia.
Perfidia.
We've
Yeah.
not all been there, but a lot of us have been in such zones of
Yeah.
I'm doing this because this person's here and I'm
Yeah.
बाकी who gives a damn about the law? मुझे नहीं मुझे interest है नहीं. तो he's empty politically.
Yeah.
The film, I again, the whole idea of my revolution should play out on screen is an entitlement I just don't get. It's
Absolutely.
then
Also, I know we don't do the context thing. $175 million Hollywood film. Can it be
Yeah.
radical in like
No,
if you
I
want
mean,
to do the production and story thing again?
I mean, if you want to shoot an entire chapter of your movie all over again just because you're like, okay, I like this location better, but the dailies are fine. So what? We can shoot it here again.
Because if you're going to do the thing of bringing in the context, there is no
Yeah.
way a $175 million Hollywood production can be a radical
I also
object.
think that's kind of irrelevant though too. I think to the point that Varun is making.
Sure.
That regardless, it's not the film that PTA was going to make.
Yeah,
At least
same.
from his
No, and-
politics.
And he's not making a movie by committee, right? That
Yeah.
मेरा भी viewpoint होना चाहिए इसमें. I also want to feel represented. Our viewpoints are not represented in so much cinema.
Uh-huh.
So much of cinema that gets made, our views are not represented.
Yeah.
You can still say I disagree with the politics and thus it's a bad film. If your take is well worded enough and well argued, I can still buy it. But to expect the film to go into your politics just because you feel a certain way,
Yeah.
or to say it lampoons the left, of course it lampoons the left. Have you seen some revolutionaries? Like you've had entire revolutions take place where one system, which is the aristocracy, gets replaced by an oligarchy or by a communist system of the better people in our system, kind of. Call it the novo aristocracy, if you will. There was a reason the Soviet leaders had dachas outside the capital city where they lived in splendor.
Yeah.
So it's counterproductive to expect a film to, I mean, like, for instance, my politics is not in agreement with the politics of Heather.
Yeah.
And I still think it's a damn good film. I think
I mean, yeah,
Bhardwaj's
that to
own
be-
politics are muddled,
Ah.
but that's a different. I think he becomes a more refined filmmaker by the time he makes Khufia, where he understands how the state also is working
Sure.
a little better. But
क्या absolutely
I'm
ऐसे बोल
not
रहे हो जैसे
able
सबको
to-
लगता है कि खुफिया को अच्छी लगती है. Chris is like so happy that
मैं
खुफिया has
बोल
been
रहा हूँ.
mentioned. No, I
मैं
just know
बोल
कि
रहा हूँ, मुझे
कितना
बहुत अच्छी लगती
कितना
है
कितना
picture.
खुश है क्रिस की
Right.
खुफिया की तारीफ हुई है यहाँ पे.
No, but I
it's-
can also no, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chris. I'm
No, I
practically
was
done.
saying I can also understand the other perspective because that's happened to me as well. And I think the most what do you call mainstream example is RRR, which I felt such a knee-jerk aversion towards that I refuse to rate it on Letterboxd because I'm like I just cannot put my politics aside
Yeah.
to judge this film. Like I'm pretty sure if I
Ah, but
could,
you've done
I
this
would
even
have
with
had
recent stuff. Like you've liked some stuff. Like I mean, okay, I'm gonna bring this just because we've started. Homebound also, you said that the fact that they are representing Bollywood is representing only becomes a big thing. I'm just
Absolutely
saying
right. So
that.
I'm
Yeah.
saying that there are instances where
Yeah.
politics can precede the filmmaking for me as well. I'm not.
Okay.
This is not at least for me an attack towards anyone who dislikes a film because
It's
of the
but it's a
politics.
different sort of way of looking at films, of course.
I'm not saying that's
No,
the
no.
problem. But
No,
what
I'm saying people
is,
who dismiss, at least for me, it's people who say that the film is bad as a whole, like it cannot be good because my politics disagree with it, is different from I cannot judge the film.
Yeah.
At least for me, how I look at it is I am not judging the filmmaking of this objectively, either in a positive or negative light, because the politics of it come before. Like we had this with
so
Dilse
in the
also.
latter case, that
Yeah.
entitlement is absent, right, Chris?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the whole point. How can you demand that, as Dhruv said, 107, even a $1 million movie,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you've
yeah.
given me $10 and
Yeah.
are thus part of the enterprise,
Yeah.
like, which is why I take objection when mainstream filmmakers who get their movies sanctioned by Netflix are like, it's my money. I'm like, no, Netflix is a public company. It's shareholder money that you're riding on.
Yeah.
So people get to have a say. They don't get to have a direct say in your filmmaking. Absolutely not. But they get to have an opinion, as people should in this case as well, regardless of whether they hold stock or
Yeah.
of Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
The expectation that the film should, how are you going to make a movie that appeases 7 billion people? How are you going to do that?
No, that तो हो ही नहीं सकता. We've seen people try and do that and the by committee फिर देखते हैं कि क्या आता है कचरा halls में वैसे भी. So let's not go there, of course.
And then we all run out of the hall like Glenn.
We don't go to the hall, sir. We don't go. Everyone else goes. Picture कमा लेती है पैसे और फिर हम यहाँ पे बैठ के रोते हैं उसके बारे में. वो होता है. But yeah, no. By committee, तो of course it's a. Anyways, I think I wanted to point out Devarsi. I think is one of the few people who I know is not a vocal hater of the film, but a vocal dissenter of the film. He didn't like it. I think as a political object, if I'm correct. He can correct me, of course, if I'm wrong and if he listens to this. And he cited a film which I have also told him very bluntly that I particularly dislike, called "How to Blow Up the Pipeline."
Pipeline.
Whatever pipeline. Anyways, how
To
to
which
blow
my
up a
response is close both ends. Don't forget that.
Anyways, no. So, I mean, again, for me, it's so. I guess I also want to say that very clearly. It for me, the difference between these two films for me is fundamentally a craft-based thing. Firstly, I think One Battle After Another is a gazillion times better made film, and I don't mean that in the it's a bigger film or whatever. It's a much better scripted film. It's a much better thought out film, I think. How to blow up a pipeline is essentially a sort of agitprop sort of thing, which again, it's one of those things where uh, I think the narrative structure of that film is total bungle. So it's like essentially flashing back again and again from the main action to show what is this person. I'm like totally drains all the momentum of the film. So my issues are those. So I'm saying that when I'm loving something like One Battle After Another, I am fairly loosey goosey with my politics also. So I am fairly
No, but I think you're onto something there. Is because sometimes we tend to. It's one thing to do what Chris is saying, where you say my politics are not in alignment with the films, so I can't offer an objective opinion.
No,
It's
no,
quite another
Devarsi,
thing.
to his credit,
No, no,
was
no.
very objective. He's been,
Yeah,
I think
no,
it's
no,
just
fair enough.
mainly a
I'm
sort
not
of,
I'm not commenting
yeah,
on Devasi's piece because I've
yeah,
not read it or
yeah,
I've not heard him talk about the film.
yeah.
I'm saying the craft will still have to be good, even if your politics is bad. So the reason I hate the right wing cinema that gets made, especially in India, is because the craft is atrocious. Like
Atrocious मतलब atrocious का भी atrocious, like हो ही नहीं सकता इससे बुरा, वैसा
like
type का.
इसने कभी कैमरा देखा ही
हाँ,
नहीं है type.
yeah.
You know, so your craft will still have to be compelling
I
for
mean,
you.
if anyone is aware or has seen even 5 minutes of the accidental prime minister,
Oh
oh,
God,
I watched it
that
in the theater, by the way.
same double header with
that
that and Uri.
film is a genuine joke. Like it like the opposition should screen it as a sort of कि ये देखो इन लोगों को पिक्चर बनानी नहीं आती हमारे बारे में, like
I
this
mean, you
ऐसे
even
करके.
watch the trailer of something like Tejas or any of.
So which is why I think we've I mean, I know we are advocating something more insidious, I suppose, in a way, but no, we were like, Uri has the film is good, at least made from a technical POV,
I
it
mean,
is
I wouldn't even say
competent.
Uri is as insidious as the accidental prime minister is, because the accidental prime minister goes out of its way to
I
fictionalize
mean, accidental prime minister को
and
जो लोग
defame
सीरियसली
and
लेते
everything.
हैं उनसे भी प्रॉब्लम होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि वो पिक्चर सीरियस दिखती ही नहीं है
I'm
किसी एंगल
so
से.
glad my relatives don't listen to this podcast because they all would have loved that movie.
सर डिसोन करो, आई मीन इट
उन्होंने
प्रॉपरली
मुझे
दिस
already
टाइम.
कर दिया है.
हाँ, तो अच्छी बात है, यू आर वेरी लकी.
The thing that Chris was saying, right, about family and blood and stuff like that, it's very much a question of, it boils down
I
to,
mean, it's also miscegenation and all that stuff. Like the
right,
giving the keys of the
getting along with
future,
people. Getting
giving the
along with
keys of
people
the
is much
future
more
to
important
someone
than
of a
begin with.
mixed race is a
Yeah.
big thing. Like especially if you're doing the best, if you're bringing in the
But
Western angle
but
of it,
like the
right?
accidental prime minister, because you mentioned it,
Oh my
it
God,
was basically
this
Delhi
is one
was being
battle after
yeah, Delhi's stand-in was basically manor houses in England, which is they don't look the same. Anybody who's seen Raisina Hill, even in a photograph, can tell you that. And it was just
that film is a joke. Like
green
I
screen.
genuinely mean it's a
Yeah,
like
I thought
you
Akshay
look at
Khanna was the
it.
one person who knew what movie he was
I'm
in
like,
because he
come
was
on,
having the
like this.
shit out of it.
I'm like, this is like, how can you even? I know if people liked it, I would be like, are you serious? Like, आप लोगों ने क्या आंखें बंद करके पिक्चर देखी थी, like that way?
और आंखें खुली हो या हो बंद, दीदार उनका होता है. But at one point, I literally laughed in a
Says the Aditya Chopra hater, but
I
yes.
laughed in a theater full of, or at least half full of Modi fans, because at one point Hansal Mehta walks into frame playing Naveen Patnaik. I just lost my shit. I was like, this is too funny.
Okay. Anyways, no, we are not going there. But no, though I think we've discussed this a little bit before. This whole idea that it is so easy to dunk on these films. Leave the politics. Look at how they are made.
filmmaking, yeah.
Just look at how they are made. They're awful. Like I'm like, who will
Yeah.
take this seriously? There's some great British propaganda films from the World War II, which are actually really well crafted. If
Look,
someone
let's
wants
not
to,
let's not talk about Powell and Pressburger and Vijay
no, no, no,
Gupta,
not him, not
whatever
him,
is
not
written.
them. I'm talking
Sir,
about
I'm saying
documentaries
even
also.
even you look, I've watched Hodo, so like I like as someone who watches a lot of queer cinema. One of my favorite queer films is an extremely deeply problematic film that was
Don't say
considered to be
Dostana.
no, that was
Okay.
considered to like fuel a lot of homophobia in the 1980s, leading into the AIDS epidemic
Cruising.
in the US, which being William Friedkin's Cruising, which
Sure.
is just a fantastically made film because Friedkin is an excellent director.
Hmm.
But it's a problematic as hell film, but I really like it.
Well,
Like, and I
there's a
have
difference
no
between, but problematic in a thorny way, not in a sort of, like your.
no, I mean, you can straight up say that the film
Oh,
is
it's a.
just like
Oh,
extremely
okay.
homophobic. I choose to read it in another way, and a lot of queer
Okay.
people have reclaimed the film. But if you approach it from a 1980s perspective, especially the guy who made The Boys in the Band, which is considered to be a incredible piece of queer, pro-queer or queer-friendly work in the 1970s or 1970, for that guy to make Cruising, which you can read as the gays as corrupting the straight people into becoming I'll not spoil it, but into becoming horrible people. You but
Wow.
it's still such a wonderfully made film that I'm like, I'm sorry, I just cannot dislike it.
Anyways,
And I
but
think
but but
that's
one
the
battle after another is nowhere close to Insidious, by the way, in any
absolute.
sense. I guess the whole idea would be that it's a little simplistic, but I'm like, sure, like if you're gonna do the drama bit this sincerely, I'm like, go for that. Like,
I mean,
I'm
the,
just
the
like,
the
whatever.
thing was also that just as people are complex, people are also simple.
Yeah.
There are also very basic needs that need to be met, just as we try to wrap our heads around sort of complicated things like Johnny Greenwood's involvement with this kind of movie and his involvement
Yeah, we have to talk about
with
that. Yeah.
Israel, which
Yeah.
we'll get to. So the thing is that both can be done, both do happen in one battle
Yeah.
after another. I
But
think Sean
I
Penn's
just,
character is a great example,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Because the American military has long been understood as this place for people without sort of a place to call home. He finds that there in some way, but not in as significant a way as he wanted to find it.
It's his
And so he sort of,
expression when he enters the office in the end is so pathetic, and
yeah,
I
because
mean it
it's
in a
so
sort of
needy
yeah, it
in
mean
a
and no, no,
in a
in a way
pitiful way.
that I'm almost like it's hard. I don't want to say heartbreaking, but it is very like it's like sad. It's really sad.
On the other hand, I don't agree with the reading of the scene when he has that last conversation with Willa. And people are like, oh, that entire conversation in the car and he's trying to be a parent. I'm like, no, he's not trying to be a parent. He's just being an asshole.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
no parenting. He's not. You should
I think there's
talk to him
there are
respectfully or whatever.
the moments of the parenting. There are the flashes, I suppose, might be in the moment when he sees her, and I think he's like trying to be a little like before he starts babbling on about you should put more makeup, like because you're young and good, and he like tries to initiate a conversation about how old are you or something, like he has that sort of slightly awkward thing, and then it's sort of from there on he's like
Insane.
genuinely insane, cruel, and I love how much Chase Infinity has, like the whole thing where it never feels almost that he is still in control. Like I think that's also a great thing about his performance is that even when he's menacing, he has the stature of someone who is crumbling under his own weight.
Yep.
So it's that I think that's the great thing about Penn's performance. I think is that as opposed to him being a caricature, which I don't think is, I mean, absolutely not the case. Which is why I think the shot of him walking is a bit of a mistake, as funny as it is.
I thought he lived like too easily after that.
No, I mean, see,
I was a bit like, this is a movie in
so-
which realistic stuff is still
but
happening.
that's why I said that scene after that is unnecessary, because in actuality, him getting shot and his car crashing is basically
Yeah,
his end. Yeah.
it would have still been the Christmas adventurers finishing him off in a way.
Yeah.
But
Well, it was
I
to hammer home the point that his desperation is.
I find the last scene insanely funny.
Yes, it is fun.
Just the
Even the shot of him walking is gets such a react, like both time it got such a reaction out of the I'm like, there's 8 people in this auditorium and you could still hear people audibly gasping
Yeah.
when he sort of walks in covered in blood. And
Blood.
I'm like, whatever it is, for that shot and for that
No,
reaction
no, it's a
enough,
crowd
I
it's
will
almost a
forgive. I will
crowd
forgive it.
pleasing
Yeah.
moment. It's not like, but it's one of those where you don't need it. But yeah, I mean,
mean,
I'm happy with it.
I don't
Yeah.
want to call it this, but in some ways it's a very 70s mainstream Hindi movie. It's got its fair
Yeah, yeah.
moments of crowd pleaser moments. It's got
Yeah, yeah.
action. It's got hints of romance.
I mean, we've not talked about the comedy, but yeah, it's
The
bloody
comedy is
hilarious.
insane.
Yeah.
It's just
The password sequence, of course, is just
oh god, that's my
it's
favorite part of the
hilarious.
film. That
It is
whole sequence where like
where the music
Sensei
is
is
there,
trying
no,
to keep up
entirely.
with him.
Oh yeah, not Sensei. Sensei is always in control.
No,
He's
no,
only
but
trying.
Sensei,
He's fumbling
Sensei is
around.
trying to keep up with him, get him to keep up with him.
Yeah, yeah. Not on the tatami.
Like it's constantly like all
Step
over
off the
the place.
tatami or something like that when he's leaving the place. But no, no, no. I mean, it's the comedy is just insane when it's firing. Like there's barely like a miss also in terms of when it's trying and it's not like clicking. Um, I love even the kids here where one of them says, the friend, sorry, yeah, who's basically like a great performance by Dan was the James Ratterman character, who's the second in command officer,
Oh yeah.
who's interviewing everyone else essentially, and he's like, "Are you? Do I look like your parent?" And the kid is like, "Kind of," and it's just like hilarious. Like it is like those bits are also very
Yeah.
funny. But
I
yeah,
mean,
like it's
my
just
favorite joke is still is Leonardo DiCaprio trying or Bob trying to be respectful to the non-binary friend of Vilas.
Yeah.
in the
He's
house,
like,
like
yeah,
when
he's
he
like, what
goes out
are
of the house.
they? Are they transitioning? No, what do I just want to be respectful? And Vilas was like, it's they, them. It's not that difficult.
No, no, but it is a funny, like when it wants to be funny, it's very funny. And yeah, I think what else, guys? Any other things to talk about? Um,
Before we
what?
jump into discourse, I
I
mean,
mean,
there's
we have
lots.
kind of talked
No,
about
Reservations.
it.
but I want to talk about like very specific things. I
How
have a list
how how
because
how अभी आवाज पूरी तरह खुली है क्रिस की ना डिस्कोर्स से
I
इतना प्यार
have
जो है.
I have a list. I mean, we have touched upon it a little bit, but I think we'll go through it now. One was the Christmas Adventurers, which I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
There was this article that came out, and I was a bit taken aback by how confident it was in the claim that it was making. But it was
Okay.
essentially that, are we laughing at the enemy too much, and is that counterproductive to our movement of enacting change and calling them out? Should we be more serious about them?
Who
And
wrote this and for whom?
this was I found this on Twitter, and it was for it was like a decently big like news or like sort of online agency. I forget who it was, but I found it funny enough because the person who wrote it was a black woman, and someone was like, people are being weird about this article that she's written. But I read through it, and it was like mostly a summary of the film, and then like one paragraph. It's just like, should we be laughing at so and so? And I find it really absurd because I very much ascribe to the idea that laughing at your enemy is actually more important than glorifying them into something, because that in itself can give them power. I mean, there's the whole discussion around what's the name of that filmmaker? Mel Brooks, right? Who makes a lot of films that I mean something
Mel
like The
Gibson,
Producers.
I'm pretty sure.
Mel Gibson's the
Mel
actor,
Brooks
no?
is the comedy director.
Is the director, not the
So Mel
actor.
Gibson is also a director.
I'm talking about Mel Brooks, who
Okay.
made The Producers, the film version of
Okay,
The
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Producers,
That's Mel
which
Brooks,
has
yeah.
got the whole springtime for Hitler thing in the
Okay.
play. And there was a whole, there's been a lot of discussions around how do you compare that with films that present, like, for example, Nazis in a very aestheticized and controlled or glorified fashion, where the thing about the producers is it cannot be co-opted by anyone, whereas other characters have been by neo-Nazis, in a sense that laughing at
As
your
in,
enemy is actually a
okay,
very
okay. So
good
like,
way to.
I mean, yeah, it's like
basically, you make you make them like an iconography out of them. So basically, like,
KK
for
Menon's
them.
characters in both
Huh,
Gulal
sure,
and
in
Shaurya.
Shaurya.
No, even the Gulal speech about Rajputs, which is
Hmm.
now a viral
I've not
sensation
seen
among
Gulal, so that's why I didn't
the
not reference.
Rajput community, presumably.
Okay, okay,
It's
okay.
lampooning the whole idea of
हाँ बट
Rajput.
वो उसको आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट निकाल के बना दिया खुद के लिए ओके हाँ सो उसका रिस्क यहाँ पे तो है नहीं यहाँ पे तो बेसिकली बंदर ही है essentially
Huh,
so
like the tonal, like literally when he goes to meet the Christmas adventurers, Christmas music is playing. It cannot be played seriously. Like,
नहीं नहीं but they I
and
like
if you're
how but I like how this there is actually no soundtrack in a lot of the scenes when he's conversing with them in the first time and I'm just like they're taking it so seriously like I mean the people are taking it so seriously PTA
yeah,
knows that it's a freaking ridiculous thing but it's like they're talking so seriously about this club and how like big they are and how like being the being part of the Christmas Adventurers Club is just you being a better man and I'm like okay like I'm like sure
I mean, I
whatever
love
you
that it
say
even
he
opens into like Sean Penn licking
licking
the
his the
comb,
comb and then he's just like
fixing
making
his
his
hair.
yeah
And like, this is your superior man. Great.
like
Love
he's
that for
literally putting his saliva in his hair. Like, it's disgusting.
and then no but then it's interesting that again that was one of the few moments where I was like I like how PTA then after the comedy of that scene actually holds on pen for a decent bit his face and the theme music plays I think the one battle after another title whatever the track is in on Spotify that's it plays once here plays once in the beginning plays once when Chase Infinity meets Sean Penn for the first time um but yeah, like
I
even
mean,
in
it's like
that,
it's almost like your cue music, right? Because
yeah, yeah,
that's when he realizes what he needs to do.
yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's great again, and another great bit of performance where it's like it feels like, oh God, I'll have to do something about this, and
see,
then
I would have agreed with don't laugh at the enemy,
mm,
except there was a time I used to be like super into all this, and I was like, I remember Trump made an address in Madison Square Gardens
mm,
2016,
mhm,
and I went on to Twitter in all my 17-year-old Josh and said, this is not that different from the party rallies at Nuremberg 80 years ago.
yeah,
And people were like, oh, you're taking it too seriously. Cut to 2025. And you're like,
yeah,
well, shit.
yeah. Hmm. No, but I
Um,
think that's why something like Doctor Strangelove has endured in a way which I feel like I
I
don't know,
think,
like
but that's not making anyone the enemy, though. It's lampooning the whole idea of the bomb and
I
this idea
suppose.
that two countries get to decide who lives and who dies.
No, no, I'm talking more about the farcical treatment of it. Like I made this argument when because I didn't love Oppenheimer. I still think it's decent. My whole thing was that Oppenheimer and all these are trying sort of trying to be super prescient about our times, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, no one's going to do anything about anything. Like, isn't it a very strange, lovey situation in many ways? Like, where you're just like, there's no point moralizing, right? At this point, or is there?
I mean, until April of this year,
Hmm.
my education over here,
Hmm.
whatever brief bit I've
Hmm.
had told me that, oh, the West is pretty confident that two nuclear powers cannot get into a brawl, a physical brawl
Hmm.
with each other. And then what happened between us and Pakistan happened.
Hmm.
And suddenly that security bubble was gone.
Yeah.
So in that world, probably Oppenheimer makes sense to a lot of people, where
Hmm.
I still don't think a nuclear attack is tangible, simply because rational nation states don't behave like that. And much as we may contend the plausibility of it, there are still rational thinkers within the Pakistani state, for instance, right? Just as there are rational thinkers within the American state, which at this point, really, it feels like there are more rational thinkers in Pakistan than America, which is saying a lot. There have to be rational people in Russia, there have to be rational people in China. So the fatalistic thing of nobody's a rational thinker and bum to girega is a bit overstated.
Okay.
And so we also tend to, filmmakers are caught up in their own importance, right? Everybody forgets how conceited you have to be if you're an artist at that level, making stuff at that scale where
Yeah.
100, 200, $300 million are riding on your work. um you don't get to that spot in life without some amount of being convinced of the importance of
Of
what you have
course.
to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's how Spielberg and Hanks get Apple to sign off on a $500 million TV show.
What,
Okay.
this is the one which you only you saw?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, fine.
Which is how the 500 million didn't come back.
What is it?
Otherwise,
Masters of None or something?
Masters of the Air.
Oh, The Air. Okay. Masters of None तो कुछ और है. शायद. I don't know.
Jack of all trades, master of none होता है sir.
नहीं नहीं कोई show भी है.
अच्छा,
Sure.
okay.
I will search.
But
Otherwise, this will go in well with my what was it? Crime and Partner.
so it's a bit much, right? You're like, the film has to do everything. It has to entertain you. It has to keep you engaged, stop you from doom
It is a
scrolling.
show, by the way. It's called Master of None, not Masters of None.
Acha, okay.
It's with Aziz Ansari.
No wonder I've not heard of it.
Okay, good.
So we're expecting too much out of common sources of enjoyment and entertainment and art. And art, it is art. But the expectation is just set too high. Right?
Sure.
You will do
तो
everything.
तो ये अच्छा ठीक है चलो क्रिस ये तो हो गया और बोलो और किसको गिराना है
एक
और किससे
तो
दोस्ती तोड़नी है सॉरी बाय मिस्टेक
दोस्ती फॉर्चुनेटली इस बार
है ही नहीं
टूटेगी नहीं
क्योंकि है ही
तो
नहीं है।
बची नहीं है
क्रिस के ट्विटर वाले दोस्त पॉल थॉमस एंडरसन की पिक्चर नहीं देखते.
नहीं आई थिंक क्रिस के ट्विटर वाले दोस्तों को अच्छी लगी है पॉल थॉमस एंडरसन की पिक्चर फिंगर्स
अच्छी लगी
क्रॉस्ड
है.
ओके
No, so the one that I want to tackle quickly is the transphobia allegation, which annoyed the hell out of me.
ओके
Which
दिस इज ऑन
for
यू या
this is on me. I'll be
Yeah.
quick about it, but there's a scene where the friends Villa's friends are getting interrogated to find about her whereabouts, and the three, there's one guy, one boy, one girl, and one non-binary character, and clearly they're sort of waiting for one of them to snitch, and it ends up being the non-binary character who snitches, and that became a whole discourse for God knows what reason, that Paul Thomas Anderson is transphobic because he sees the trans character as the one who's not trustworthy and the one who snitches on, which is really funny also because the entire film is quite sympathetic towards Perfidia's character, who also rats them out, and he still looks back at her pretty sympathetically. But the point remains that actually, if you think about it sociologically, as Paul Thomas Anderson is doing pretty strongly throughout the film, it makes sense because being a non-binary character, they probably have more to lose than the other the other cis characters. So for me, like I will be honest, I had that knee-jerk reaction the first time, like a little bit when I saw it. I was like, okay, why? And then I thought about it for about 2 seconds, and I was like, of course, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was one, and the other one I think is, I mean, we've touched upon a little bit, but it's the racial question, right? It's this is a film.
I actually, once again, I wanted to ask you about this because there's one other sequence which
Yes.
I think again the film is relying like with the case of Perfidia, I think a little bit too much on implication, and which I don't mind. I'm just saying in this case, I actually found it a little hard to believe in the first time when I watched it. Second time I watched it, I was more convinced. Third time, I'm still a little key. Maybe you can actually spend more time just observing him, and then him coming to make this decision. This is Avanti Q's character, and what
Okay.
decision he makes when he decides to go and take Villa back, and then ends up shooting the people at the place. So, हाँ आप हाथ उठा रहे हैं वरुण? नहीं आप बस ऐसे ही हाथ घुमा रहे हैं. Okay. नहीं so no, did you guys is it just me who felt that the Avanti Q character, like why, like of course the whole idea is that he says that he doesn't take contracts for children, and the whole idea that he's part Comanche, and then part Comanche only, right? I think he says, because he's talked about in the conversation at the
Christmas Adventurous
Christmas
Club. Yeah.
Adventurers Saint Nick conversation, where whatever that nonsense was, and they were talking about how he can't be pure because he's not fully American
Gentile
or
born
white
and
born, whatever garbage rhetoric they have,
He's not
and
immigrant white trash.
whatever, what. No, what's the whole thing? We have to abolish punk trash, or was it? What's the three
Something
things?
like that.
I forget. Anyways, yeah. So they talk about him there, but I guess is it just because I think that's the only time in the film where I was like, you probably expect the audience coming in then to know the history of this character a little bit too much in the fact that he will take that action to free that character, and in the process sacrifice almost himself, which the protection angle I get. The whole idea that he gets killed, I'm just like, okay, then, because it's the only point in the film where also I think ki convenience ke liye, to get from one point to another, you have to have that beat hit, of the screenplay. So, so Villa is left alone, and then she needs to do something on her own.
I think it's more the micro storytelling of that moment that works for
Okay,
me more than any
okay,
larger conclusions. I mean,
sure.
first the interaction with Lockjaw himself, and then when he lands up there, that interaction with one of those white supremacists who's sitting around and who makes a couple of comments about. I think for me it's more informed by that kind of, because
Sure.
again his reaction is much more like like spontaneous. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to think about it, but I don't know if I don't even know how much to a larger extent it's meant to be read or like I don't think he's going for that, at least on the fuller extent as he does with other moments. But I think for me at least it worked just because it's set up really well
Okay.
with the I don't do it with kids, and how Lockjaw sort of pushes him around to then that particular interaction, and how it sort of really pisses him off. And because you see him like storm, like he storms back, he like goes back to the car, and then he
Yeah.
gets the gun and he
No,
storms
he
back.
sits
And
down. The camera focuses on
yeah,
his
so
face a little bit. I'm like, I would have loved for the camera to just actually not even focus on other stuff for like that moment. I would have been like, it sticks on his face, then
yeah.
almost, I don't know if you do a one take there, but like, almost just then allow to get up with him and then go there. It's almost like, and everything registered through the face. Nothing needs to be said. Nothing ever needs to be said. Please do not make that mistake about these things. Because there's another moment I was even envisioning where there's a mirroring image of Perfidia and Chase Infinity's villa shooting like violently, like it's the poster image, right, of
Firing.
Yeah.
firing, yeah. And I'm like, and we cut to a reaction shot of Regina Hall, who has like a very wonderfully like her ears closed, which tells a lot about her character and all that. But I was like, कोई भी और पिक्चर होती 100, ये कोई भी नहीं बट कोई भी डम पिक्चर होती तो वहां पे ये बोलते इजंट शी जस्ट लाइक हर मदर एंड आई एम लाइक ये सब कचरा नहीं चाहिए पिक्चरों में यही तो हटाना है लाइक यही तो यू वो सब
Suddenly he sounds like a Christmas adventurer. ये सब कचरा नहीं चाहिए.
Oh.
यही तो हटाना.
No, as in यही तो हटाना है like this is the where you're not giving. I'm like expect इतना तो
They are
करो
not giving
audience
the
से
audience cues. Yeah.
इतना तो दे दो audience को credit like अगर नहीं है
No, I
समझ
mean,
आता उनको तो उनकी गलती है but
दिया
like
है. I mean, she comes into the nunnery and you've got the whole thing about, how can we trust you because of your,
yeah.
like your mother and all. Like उतना ट्रस्ट ऑडियंस पे कभी कभी होना जरूरी होता
No, no.
है
So
कि
that's
यू
why I'm
कैन
saying
कैरी फॉरवर्ड.
in the Avanti Q sequence, I would not want him to say, "Oh, I am angry now. I will get up and save you." ये सब नहीं चाहिए मुझे. I'm just saying that for me at least, when I watched it the 3 times, I'm like, that is one of the only few times when it feels like the film is pushing it a little too much
I
for
think
us to
most
buy
films
into
have a
something.
degree of narrative convenience in their
But
writing.
sir, for a film which doesn't feel like it has any, इसमें थोड़ा फिर लगता है ना
But
कि
then in those
आप
when they don't have any, the one moment that does have,
yeah,
that stands
that's
out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
listen. The only thing
It's a
is,
feature, it's a bug of good writing.
bug है, but ठीक है. But उसके बाद then the car closes and the freaking river of hill sequence happens, which is just like heart stompingly good.
Also, I mean,
So
this is going to sound like really, really snobbish, but when I watched the River of Hill sequence for the first time, which is when I was watching it on the VistaVision screen, I was like, this is insane. Then I watched it a second time on a normal screen. I was like, does not feel as insane.
No, come on. For me, it
No,
was
no, not
opposite.
at
I
all.
The
actually
f-
liked it the more the second time, actually,
the
and the third
filmmaking
time.
still worked, but
Yeah,
because it was not even an IMAX screen. It was
yeah,
like
yeah,
your
yeah.
basic bare bones screen. I was like, somehow the way the scene played out
Yeah.
felt much more alive. Maybe it was a
Okay,
screen issue,
I
right?
suppose.
But
Yeah, no, but the
No, but I
hmm.
can say that like I watched it again. I watched it the first time in IMAX and the second time in 2D, and I
मेरा भी
was
वही है.
actually kind of afraid that it
Hmm.
wouldn't work for me. But
Hmm.
I felt myself like lurching in my seat the entire
So I
sequence
think
through.
out of the three times I've seen it, my best viewing of the film has been the second actually. Like the third one, I was a little less in awe of than I was the second time. But the second time I watched it in IMAX again, I think. So I also, but I am absolutely not an advocate of this type of film not working on a smaller screen. I think this
No,
will
but
I
work
mean,
everywhere.
I'm going to go. I went VistaVision first time, DCP
हाँ.
second time. Next,
अब
I get onto
laptop.
TV, then third, fourth laptop, then phone, and then fifth time I just turn the movie into MP3 and listen to it.
No, but the thing is, I actually saw someone post a clip of that scene on Twitter.
Hmm.
And I was like, and I was on playing on my laptop, and I was like, okay, I am a little bit skeptical of how this will play on like my laptop because like in the theater either way for me it was fantastic. I'm a little
Right.
bit, but it's also like it's a contextual thing, right? Like I'm watching a decontextualized clip
Twitter पे is
versus
a different thing, sir. हाँ.
what it will be like when I am actually invested
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
the film and
I
then
don't
watching
think
both
it'll make
the
because the other film I think about it, and I don't know if this has been mentioned that much, but I'm just going to point it out. I thought about Mad Max Fury Road, which I love. In terms of the momentum of this, I was just like, I've not felt this like, as someone, again, Varun, you are allowed to make your digs right now. As someone who is always tired and who always feels lethargic, I have not felt this like,
Upbeat.
let's हाँ चलो करते हैं ये for and then I return to my
Any
normal.
moment, Dhruv will go, do me a favor, let's play Holly. Like, Anu Malik.
Yeah, thank you, Varun. इससे अच्छा कॉम्प्लीमेंट मुझे जिंदगी में कहाँ मिलेगा? Just like अनु मलिक. हाँ, मेरी लाइफ बन गई.
Sir, as the person who brought the accidental prime minister into a podcast about one battle after another, I don't think you get to
We
complain.
were talking about you again. You're stripping off the context here. Uh, anyways, you were
let's say
तो हो गया
better the
क्या?
film yelled everybody and then you went shower.
But आपका वो क्या था लास्ट वाला पॉइंट जो
No,
आप बोल रहे
the
थे
last thing
डिस्कोर्स?
was the racial politics of it.
Sure.
I mean, it definitely comes in with. I can understand that slightly more where it's coming from, given how like limited Perfidia's
I think the Perfidia thing
characterization
I can
is.
also get. I get it, except I
The
don't feel the
sexualizing
similar
of
way.
black women?
No. I
Of
don't think she's sex. I don't think she's a simplified character enough to just be
Okay.
sexualized. There's one shot of her which is leering at her body from the back, but it's contextualized as a Sean Penn
VO.
POV shot.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm like, if you're pointing that out, you have to point out the shot that follows, not the.
No, but
You
I
can't.
think that's also one discourse problem is that that's irrelevant to the people discoursing about
क्या
it. It's like
मतलब तो
this
फिर तो क्या
shot
एक
exists. ऐसी shot ही picture में
तो
नहीं
तो
था.
नहीं हो सकता सॉरी देन नहीं हो सकता डिस्कशन कोई
I mean, discussion चाहिए नहीं ना लोगों को.
नहीं आई एम जस्ट
You're
सेइंग कि
missing it.
नहीं
You
बट
won't have
ये
a
लिसन आई एम हैप्पी टू लिसन टू ऑल द एंड आई थिंक कि देयर
Dhruv,
इज पीपल
you
हु कैन
discovered this last year. People want to
मैं
hear
नहीं
it.
हाँ वहां पे नहीं जाके करूंगा मैं कुछ
No, again,
बट
like that's the
No,
point.
no,
And
but
I
I'm
saw
saying
just
कि
as I was,
I'm
हाँ हाँ.
Chris and me both are saying that in terms of the way the character plays out, there are ways in which it might read to people as simplistic and to see her just as a sexualized catalyst for whatever the rest of the story follows. Sure, I'm saying if you're going to point things out, you cannot then use that example without using the scene that follows because that's basic filmmaking principles, okay? Like I'm just saying like that just does not work as an example. आप और example उठा के ढूंढो और फेंको हम पे हम लोग सह लेंगे. I'm just saying कि वो example आप नहीं फेंक सकते. वो basically it is a shot of someone who is the villain. उसका नहीं है shot. Leonardo DiCaprio के POV का shot भी नहीं है वो.
I mean,
So
Leonardo DiCaprio does grab her ass, and there also the camera lingers. But to me, that's a good example of
okay, so I
establishing.
don't know. So one more thing, I don't know अगर मेरे हॉल ने कुछ काटा था actually. It's 18 plus, so I'm presuming कुछ नहीं काटा है. So is there anything there, because there's very little shown.
No, there's nothing shown. There's no nudity in the film.
There is nothing, right? Isn't
No,
it?
no.
Doesn't the film cut away
I
when
mean,
they are
Chris
when
would
she
also
when they're
not know.
हाँ,
His
आप ही
viewing
को
is
पता
governed by
होगा.
the censor board.
वो तो दुनिया की सबसे incompetent organization होगी.
उसको तो and Tiana Taylor is wearing a black t-shirt and black denims in
उसको
that sequence. Chris को तो वैसे भी लगेगा कि अरे वाह black dress.
मेरे को तो पता
एकदम
नहीं है.
फ्लोरेंस प्यू की याद आ गई मुझे तो. No,
टियाना टेलर को
there's
देख के
हाँ,
ये सब
because black
बोलोगे
dress.
ये सब बोलोगे तो फिर हो गया इशू. But no, but yeah, you can tell only, Varun. Like I remember, इसमें तो
no
they cut
nudity.
away whenever, so they show the sort of when she's getting essentially turned on by him talking about the bomb and the fuse,
Yeah.
and then
I think the
it
most
cuts away
explicit
quickly.
shot of the film is like Sean Penn's covered boner.
Which you only saw, which is not there even in for.
No,
in
it's
No,
not
normal
I
there.
saw that.
You saw?
Okay.
No, it's there. Yeah.
मेरे IMAX स्क्रीन पे तो नहीं दिखाई दिया.
Ladies and
just-
gentlemen,
I need that on a t-shirt.
Dhruv is heartbroken that he couldn't see.
Sean Penn's boner. Can we get Dhruv a t-shirt? मेरे IMAX screen पर Sean Penn का boner दिखाई नहीं दिया.
I thought this was a Vista
Write an
Vision
email to
perk.
PVR.
Mr.
Your-
Perk. What?
You know, in that sense, one of the funniest memes I've seen come out of this. You remember that one horrible photo or this thing? There was like a match of like I think Decision to Leave and Past Lives or something ka aise ek
Oh, the
Yeah,
rod
image
thing.
था of them holding. Someone put Sean Penn's boner on top.
पहले तो
But you said Decision to Leave and
हाँ.
Past Lives. I was like, Dhruv तो अभी मतलब he will
Honey,
do what
after you lost me there. So
Yeah.
No, I was just like, that was like, this is what it deserves. You put Sean Penn's boner on top.
But it's I mean the film has a lot of stuff that will irk people otherwise also. Like the system of the Brave Beaver is not like anybody with half a brain knows what it means. And so people can get offended about that. So you know is that some kind of sick joke on God is what Penn says, right? And he says it so well.
yeah.
And poor Chase Infinity apparently had no idea what it meant. And PTA had to explain it to her on set, and she was like,
Yeah.
"That's disgusting. There's something wrong with you." And I'm like, imagine getting told off by like a 17, 18, whatever year old. So, I mean, but the thing is, you can, if you nitpick like this, no, with this one line of dialogue.
This is amazing. यहाँ पे तो वो clip डालनी चाहिए. Leonardo DiCaprio की, you're a nitpicking little prick.
You're a little nitpicking prick. That's what you are, a little nitpicking prick. And you know what I'm gonna do to nitpicking pricks? I'm gonna call in a Greyhawk 10.
You're calling it a
I'm
Greyhawk.
calling a Greyhawk 10.
So a lot of discourse has become that, unfortunately. Like what Dhruv is talking about, filmmaking principles. A lot of the people involved in the discourse aren't necessarily. I don't want to use the word educated. Aren't aware of filmmaking in terms of how it is crafted.
तो फिर आप वो argument फेंक क्यों रहे हो as a declaration?
Because it is relevant. Because हमको social circles में relevant दिखना है, तो
अच्छा.
वो
तो फिर
वाला
तो
situation.
क्रिस एक काम करो प्लीज, वो हमें वो सर्कल्स हमारे सर्कल से इरेज कर दो प्लीज. कभी लाना मत
नहीं
यहाँ
है
पे, please.
सर, वो दैट इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ ट्विटर. वो आपको दूसरे सर्कल्स में डालने की कोशिश करते हैं.
हाँ तो
I
वही तो
try
कह
to
रहा हूँ.
avoid it, but-
आप वो सर्कल्स में घूमो भूलो और फिर हमारे सर्कल में आओ. ऐसे बोल रहा हूँ. ठीक है.
घूमो चकरा जाओ like शाहरुख at the end of
हाँ.
Mahi Way, and then come to
Shut up. Do not say that. That is heresy. And don't remind me of it because I remember what happens after that. Please don't.
हम दोनों रोने लग जाएंगे, मत बोला करो.
But yeah, I mean, like
Anyways,
I felt the prologue was a bit empty only, like
okay,
because it was more vibes than anything. And Tiana Taylor, like I said, felt
didn't
like a
work for
very
you.
one-note
Yeah.
performance. The performance was what was flawed. I don't have any
Sure.
problem with the character. I want to just
Okay.
clear that up.
Who can you think of someone who else who you would have liked in that?
Uh, Nothing that springs to mind in.
Don't say a white actress's name, okay?
No,
Like,
no, no, I
please.
won't.
Uh,
But I'm trying to think of someone other than Naomi Harris because she's got that sarcastic, sassy sort of,
I can't even imagine Naomi Harris in this. She's too
Yeah,
like
because
she
she's
has
too
too much of a
British.
yeah, and she's too much. She has too much of a nice persona. I don't know.
I mean, she's done Pirates of the Caribbean, so if you can do
Listen,
something with makeup, you can achieve.
yeah,
Because
okay.
like
It's
the
weird.
otherworldliness of Emma Stone is down to makeup in Bugonia. Like she
I
looks
mean, her
not like
eyes
Emma
are
Stone
big
because of
her
it.
eyes are big enough to look otherworldly also. But the other,
So
that's a different thing. No, but you are the only person I've heard who's not like Tiana Taylor's performance. So it's, I suppose you are in the vast
I am in the
minority here.
minority. I
Yeah.
mean, but I mean, again, I feel like it's also a direction problem. Maybe like PTA should have probably worked on that a little, like get her to align her performance more closely to how the character feels like it's been written,
Okay.
as opposed to
But again, these are problems which only Varun has, by the way. I had no
yeah,
issues with her performance. I just want to make that very clear.
yeah. She's also one of the big
Big
favorites,
front
tipped to
runners,
at
I think,
least
for
be
the. Well,
nominated.
I'm guessing it's
Not
gonna get nominations all across the board, right?
I
So
want Chase Infinity to win if
you want to
she
win.
gets a nomination, but like at her age, you don't get
No.
like Oscars.
Yeah.
But we are not getting into the
या
Oscars
या वो तो
discussion.
बकवास है वो तो पक्का
I
कुछ
don't
कुछ
I
ना कुछ
don't
और ही
even
जीतेगा
want
तो ठीक
Dhruv
है
to do an Oscars roundup next
नहीं
year.
करेंगे इस साल डोंट वरी नहीं करेंगे
मेरे को तो पिछले साल का भी ट्रॉमा है. इस
क्या
साल
था
तो मैंने
पिछले
किया
साल
भी नहीं. Amartya crying about Maestro for most of the season.
That
पिछले
was the
साल
year
माइस्ट्रो
before
थोड़ा
last,
दैट्स ईयर बिफोर
No,
लास्ट
no, no. Last year, we recorded all those episodes in 2024.
ओके ओके आई
But
फॉरगॉट
no, I think One Battle After Another is whoever says it's his most approachable film and his most accessible film is right on the money. If you want to get, but it's not a film I recommend to people who want to get into PTA.
श्योर
I think a great way to get into PTA is through Punch Drunk Love
ओके
because you should be at least a little acquainted with the fact that this man is not, even when he's doing like a genre piece, which you think is a genre piece, he's going to put his own sort of
spins
twist
to
to it.
it yeah
If you
minus
start,
Boogie Nights which is literally a Scorsese film so
yeah, so I mean, I've not watched that, but if you start with One Battle, you're like, oh, he makes safe-ish films, which this feels very safe by PTA standards.
yeah
Like it's not manicured, but it's very put
no it's
together.
appealing it has a broad
Yeah,
appeal
yeah.
I
No,
could
I
like
mean, it's
I
accessible more in the sense that would I recommend a PTA film to my brother? Up to One Battle After Another, absolutely not. One Battle After Another, I would. Because
yeah
he's not he watches superhero movies and he has very normie taste in cinema. So
I
for
would
him,
say Plainview is a kind of superhero, a bitter, worn-out superhero,
sir
because
that
that
film
is the arc
requires a
of that
lot of
film.
patience I don't think वो होएगी
Sir, I mean, I watched it for the first time on a laptop on my I mean, I had
आप
the
अलग
नहीं
जानवर हो
sir,
ना
but like मैं नहीं था ना उतना अलग जानवर. I mean, I was never into superhero movies,
हाँ
but I still think it's after One Battle, it's probably his most accessible film because it's proper
हाँ
prestige drama.
it is I mean वो उसमें ऊपर से it's got that Daniel Day-Lewis
Oh, he's
powerhouse
insane in that movie. He's just
I rewatched like 15-20 minutes of it and I was like he's the only one of these method actors who's actually like he actually feels like he's not doing it too much on screen so I'm like
I mean, another would probably be Rod Steiger,
I
but
mean,
that's
again,
like
I don't know who all, but who are like your
way back.
Marlon Brando and all those I've seen. I'm just like कुछ ज़्यादा ही acting कर रहे हैं मेरे लिए. Like कुछ ज़्यादा ही
वाह क्या
acting
एक्टिंग
pills
कर रहा
खा
है.
ली. वाह क्या acting कर रहा है. Yeah. Anyways, any more thoughts, guys, on One Battle After Another, or as Sanjeet mistakenly called in the previous episode, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, for some reason. Uh,
Somewhere Amartya just had another heart attack.
that's true, actually. Yeah. Anyways, is that it, guys? Any more
I think
thoughts?
that's it.
Any more grievances against people who have expressed their grievances
I
towards
mean,
Oba?
we should quickly address the Johnny Greenwood bit. It
Yes.
sits oddly with the film. I'm absolutely in agreement that
Mm,
as an artist, he's willing to perform in Israel,
mm,
and then he's willing to come and and then he's being invited to contribute to a film like One Battle After Another.
mm,
Sits at odds with the film's idea, but
mm,
I'm not necessarily confusing the film's political identity with
mm.
Paul Thomas Anderson's advocacy in any way.
Yeah.
For all I know, tomorrow Paul Thomas Anderson could be photographed with the IDF, much like
Mm,
Quentin Tarantino has decided he wants to be.
mm.
So, I mean, who knows? It is
Yeah.
problematic,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just one of those things that you've got
I
to
mean,
contend with.
it's for us to contend with,
Exactly.
but that doesn't also take away the fact that his work on this film is extraordinary. So,
Yeah.
No, but it becomes the fact that can you do that separation, right? I mean, it's even the fact that we watched it so many times in the theater. It's a question of you're giving, you're in a way, your own way, you're contributing some amount of money. I mean, this was a discussion even like, I know it'll annoy Dhruv again, but around something like F1, which giving money to someone like Brad Pitt, who has this history of domestic abuse and
Or the people
नहीं
who are
मत
going
दो
and watching
F1 को तो मत ही
movie
दो पैसे, ठीक
movies
है, कोई
in
बात नहीं.
theaters
वो
or
picture आपको
subscribing to
अच्छा
movie. So, I mean,
exactly, right? Yeah,
the I mean, we could make the same argument for Tom Cruise, right?
absolutely.
The British Film Institute just did a Tom Cruise season in the
हाँ,
summer.
कुछ
Yeah.
अवार्ड भी मिला है ना आपके पट्टे को, क्रिस?
The
उसको
honorary
honorary
Oscar.
Oscar मिला है sir.
अच्छा, okay.
He's being honored for like 40 years of working in the film industry.
Okay.
He was called into the labs at the BFI recently to look at a 35 print they've got of Magnolia.
I mean,
and
yeah.
he apparently geeked out all over it.
Yeah,
Which is,
oh wow, Paul Thomas Anderson captured the spirit of me.
yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, the thing with Greenwood, I suppose, is that he's really a part of the machine. If it
Yeah.
was Anderson who was espousing those views, like I just said this before we recorded, I'm disinclined to watch Tarantino's final movie. I don't give a fuck if he doesn't make one at this point. You're being photographed with people with an organization that has willingly committed war crimes and wants to continue to commit them with impunity. That's your call. But then I should be able to be like, okay, I don't want to be associated with your filmmaking. And
Yeah.
I mean, Kill Bill, the uncut version, will be releasing soon. I'll be happy to watch it in an illicit way because is he a great filmmaker? Yes, he is. Do I not want to give him money? No, I don't want to give him money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's
really
no,
down
but
to
it's
your
interesting.
personal-
I think it depends on how. Again, I think maybe we give credence or like credibility more. At least I do to a filmmaker, and I'm anyways more aloof than you guys. So But anyways, if this type of stuff happens, it comes in the news, and I'll know about it. Will I go and I think it's the difference for me would have been that if PTA would have been actively doing this all, I would have gone and watched it the first time and maybe not gone the second and third time and watched it online. But because he hasn't, I guess, espoused or at least promoted these things openly. Of course, the whole idea that he's hiring and working with Johnny Greenwood itself is a form of, promotion. That is a different thing. That
Yeah.
you can say that is his own affiliations that like reveals it. But no, I guess. Uh, yeah, I mean, see, with other filmmakers, I don't feel inclined to, I know there's lots of great classics made by like a Woody Allen or your Roman Polanski,
Roman
but I'm just
Polanski.
yeah, and I mean those are different crimes, of course, than to the crimes these people are committing, uh, because they have legitimately like it's like criminally of like they've been
On a
charged.
personal level, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
this
think
is a
Alan was ever charged, but
oh,
more
Alan
of
wasn't charged. Yes, yes.
morality question there, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, sure, but like I think it depends on. I guess for me, the filmmaker. Then I
Yeah.
suppose if Anderson would have been as openly
Problematic as Greenwood has been.
supportive, I suppose I would have watched, but I would have watched it once. So
No,
whatever
I
I
probably
would.
wouldn't have done that either.
Sure.
Okay,
So
fine.
I would have probably still watched it once.
Again, to me, the film would have worked with another composer. I don't necessarily, I
Hmm.
don't want to give Greenwood's work that level of importance. I think
Okay.
the film industry is littered with composers that are, of course, Robbie Robertson
Hmm.
recently passed away, or
Yeah.
last year he passed away. But
Yeah.
you still have, again, anachronistic choice, but you still have the John Williams and the Howard Shaws and the
John
David
Williams.
Shiards. I mean,
Okay.
I'm just name checking people, the Thomas
Sure.
Newmans of the world.
No, no, there are,
And
of course, there are lots of composers who can, John Bryan is still there. I don't know what he's doing. He was a previous collaborator for Paul Thomas Anderson.
right,
So, yeah, I mean, again, I
Trent
have
Reznor, Atticus Ross, they should go.
कितने लोगों को ट्रेंट रेजनर और आर्टिकस रॉस दोगे लूका गॉर्डिन को रुके रहे तो अभी उस पे बस
Hmm.
Oh, I forget. Varun is watching Challenges, by the way, finally
At
in
some point in
December.
December, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yes, sorry, Chris. Do you want to say something about this wonderful topic?
I don't know. I find it personally also very difficult to reckon with. I mean, it's the idea also of, like, for example, with the discourse at large around the whole Gaza situation. It's like, for
Hmm.
example, boycotts, like the
Hmm.
Hmm.
BDS boycott. Do you follow it? Do you not?
Hmm.
And
Who?
the what are you
Uh,
asking?
uh, uh,
Sorry.
the what boycott?
I think it's called the organization is called BDS. I think I forget the this
Okay.
thing exactly, but they're the ones who've been, like, calling for boycotts of a lot of large brands like
Hmm.
McDonald's and all of these people asking not to spend money because they are directly, or their money has been linked to the
Hmm.
IDF in Israel. And it becomes a question of, right, is it a personal morality question, or are you making, or can you be judged on a
Hmm.
larger ethical scale on this kind of a thing?
Hmm.
And it's like, again, it's not to that kind of a scale, but it's question that I've had to ask myself with the whole JK Rowling situation. Like, how
Hmm.
do I think of my friends who continue to
Hmm.
actively engage with her work and what that means for my
Hmm.
community? And it's difficult, right? Because I can't begrudge anyone their enjoyment, or be that existing or continued, of
Hmm.
Harry Potter or whatever that meant to them.
Hmm.
But I know for me personally, there's also a certain discomfort I feel towards it
Yeah.
instinctively, at least. So
Hmm.
I don't, I personally don't like to make sweeping claims of people, or like the kind of condemnations of people, especially when it comes to something like films or art or that kind of thing. But
Hmm.
I also get where people come from when, like, I know, for example, with, like, I don't have an investment in Tarantino, that's a different matter. But if
Hmm.
it was someone of that skill, there's some filmmakers who I will not name, but if it was them, I will not personally feel comfortable doing something like that. But I don't know
Hmm.
if I want to make those larger claims and what it means. And some people can find my sort of being wishy-washy about it in itself problematic. But
Yeah.
I don't know, that's a difficult question to answer, I think.
और गाली दो आप लोग क्रिस को प्लीज ट्विटर पर वहीं पे वहां पे सब कुछ अलाउड है
पब्लिसिटी तो मिल जाएगी.
हाँ वही वो हम लोग सिर्फ हम लोग ये सब सिर्फ उसी चीज के लिए करते हैं हम लोग को और कोई पर्पस नहीं है हमारा this is the this is from our last experience where I was told that I'm doing this for publicity. But anyways, sure.
The day
I'm
Dhruv
like
does something for publicity
I'm like
is the
it's
day
okay.
Trump will decide he wants to be a democratic
Die?
leader of
Acha,
the world.
okay. Okay. Anyways, on that wonderful note, we fight one battle after another.
You
Uh,
were judging me.
yeah.
Terrible. Terrible. Khatam.